Alrighty, so I want to give my opinion on Soul vs. Soulless Part 2. Oh, wait. Timeless products. Resident Evil 4 is timeless, and Resident Evil 4 Remake is a product of its time, which is essentially a part 2 of this video by Crowbcat. So here's what I'm assuming the deal is. Crowbcat, after months later, is deciding to make this critical analysis on RE4 Remake because during the honeymoon phase, people tore this video apart with Soul vs. Soulless. I mean, the comments are mostly negative. The downvotes I saw were like massive, and as far as I know, I remember at one point he changed the title of that video to Resident Evil 4 is a masterpiece. I'm just thinking to myself, yo, you decided to stand on business with your opinion of RE4 Remake, trying to downplay it as much as humanly possible with Soul vs. Soulless. Then you change the title to RE4 Remake as a masterpiece to deflect from any sort of blowback that you got because you know it was a lot of heat compared to your other videos. And then you change the title back to what it was. If that's not comedy gold alongside making a sequel, I don't know what is. I think that's personally funny to me. That's very, very hilarious how that all panned out. And what do I personally think of RE4 OG and RE4 Remake? Holy shit, two cakes. That's exactly what I feel. So on the spectrum of things, I'm personally satisfied because I enjoyed the experiences of both games when RE4 came out for the first time with the original, and with the remake I thought it was pretty good. Are they perfect in every way? No. They do have flaws when you point them out, which you're probably going to hear me talk about in this video as well. But I do enjoy both experiences. And as for the title itself, I also agree with this. A product of its time. It's like the stupidest thing you could say and counter to historical analysis of arts, because RE4 OG is a product of its time of third-person shooter experimentation. Works of art are not created in a vacuum, and that is true. I feel this way because you could tell that the third person shooter genre or whatever, it still existed during the time, but not as innovative or cool of reinventing the wheel as RE4 was, where you could shoot a guy in the foot and you had your over the shoulder hit point shoot someone in the arm and stuff like that. It was really cool when it came out, and it led to imitation. Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, and other people copying it, like Gears of War, Uncharted. It basically reinvented the wheel forever, and it continues to be prominent in a lot of over-the-shoulder third-person remakes, or just a lot of new Resident Evil games like Requiem in general. To which I say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If it works, it's fine. Just add these little tweaks and additions, and they put these little parries in there to make the gameplay a lot more refreshing. Now, that being said, as much as people like to throw the remake of Resident Evil 4 into the pyre, just remember that even the creator of the original, Shinji Mikami, also gave it its praise, and a lot more praise has happened since then. He said he cleared the game successfully, and I enjoyed it very much. So there's going to be people that will enjoy the remake. There's going to be people that will enjoy the original and prefer that one. There's going to be people that like both. And what I'm seeing is the war in between, where if you happen to have a thought process, especially if you like both, then you're the devil. That can't happen. That can't be allowed. And that's not how opinions work, because opinions are always going to be vastly across the board, no matter if someone likes something or not. Now let's get into this video and let's get this party started. Let's see what Crowbcat has to say this time. And also, I will be pausing in between because I am waiting for a package. Here we go.
Most of the creators in Capcom feel that unless you start bringing in originality into the video games and don't keep doing rehashes, then the video game industry itself is going to hit a major crash eventually. People are going to lose interest in games if they keep churning out the same things over and over again. And we at Capcom, we want to keep making games. That's what we live for. So in order to make sure there is an industry to support us making games, we have to act now. And one of the things we're doing is making original games.
This is kind of interesting as a cold opener, which I believe requires context, because context is important. This was when Capcom was doing the whole Capcom 5, where they had multiple projects in the works, and Nintendo was sort of putting them to pasture, right? Because some of those games were kind of failing. I remember the PN03 game. They had Dead Phoenix, which was canceled. PN03, which really didn't set the world afire. There was more to. I think it was Beautiful Joe, RE4, and another game, which I forget. I think it's Killer 7. But yes, they are correct in the fact that you do need innovation going forward and new original things, which I mean, Pragmata is out in like a few days anyway, so there's your original game if you don't like remakes, right? And it got like high scores as well. So a lot of that doesn't make sense because Capcom is doing a ton of new things. Their remakes just happen to be also popular as well, best selling actually. RE4 remake doing gangbusters. Requiem selling 6 million very, very quickly. I think you can easily understand that RE is a juggernaut, but back then, this was when they went through multiple iterations of RE4 to the point where they developed the game so much and they cooked so much that parts of what RE4 originally wasn't working out so well in terms of thematics, right? Because it's straight far from a Resident Evil game. Oh wait, we have Devil May Cry now. We have Haunting Ground as well. Resident Evil 4 was a big development process, and thus it was taxing on Shinji Mikami, which is why he's sitting here with cigarettes put out with a beer right there, because he's been through like 4 or 5 iterations of the game. I don't think it's a product of the industry because right now Capcom is in the green. They have a lot of experimentation. They have remakes coming out. They have new games coming out, and they are quite honestly doing well. But I would say back then, this was when Capcom's future was kind of in disarray because they were thinking, how is this stuff going to work? We just canceled like all these versions of RE4. We have to restart development. I think Shinji said that he wrote RE4, the final script, in a week. They were really pressured by Capcom. They really had the gun to their back. Therefore, the tone back then was different as it is now. I'm just putting that out there. So, we fast forward, and 17 years later.
Resident Evil 3, the remake, is just about out there in the wild, and it appears to be another great remake from Capcom. Capcom's really just hitting these remakes out of the park. It's got everyone wondering what will be the next Resident Evil remake.
Yes, please. Thank you, Capcom.
Thank you, Capcom.
Thank you, Capcom.
Yes.
You hear the Spanish music, you see the forest, that, you know, we're all shitting our pants.
Last of Us? Last of Us?
When people say
the
fucking
multiplayer
hard,
Last of Us 2?
like, oh man.
Obviously gonna be excited, obviously gonna play it when it comes out.
We are eating.
I still don't know how people thought that was Last of Us.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see. Except in the back of the players' minds, in the back of the developers' minds, there's this quiet, unspoken truth, which is, yeah, but if we're being real here, this is just a cash-in. This is not a legitimate artistic effort.
Of these games that they've been remaking, this is probably one that doesn't need to really be remade.
When I first heard about remaking
so this is just people's personal preference, right? You know, they talked about why they remade this game, which is on front of the screen, where it's like, oh, at first they thought, hey, wouldn't be able to do it. So I didn't want to do it, right? You see Kadoi talking right here. But the problem is that I don't think you understand that developers themselves, they like to change their minds. It doesn't mean that they made this as a labor of getting people's a cash grab, a pointless cash grab, like a buggy experience, like a fucking shitty rushed out 4 out of 10, you know what I mean? I feel like they did have the passion to do it. They changed their minds, and the rest of the quote that they talk about, where Kadoya and Ampo, they have a discussion, they said they really just didn't want to alter everything. They wanted to crank up what was already there to 11 and add in additions to the Resident Evil 4 formula, which I think, if it comes down to that baseline, then they have succeeded in that goal.
RE4, my first impression was that since the original is a masterpiece, a remake would be difficult, so I didn't want to do it.
4, it's like a sharp dagger. You see how the original, where it just has like a roughy, gritty edge to it?
Why the fuck are we comparing logos? Okay, we know that the logos are altered in a heavy way, and they're not like the original counterparts. They found their own sort of logos. This happens with the first remake, where they had a different font style. I'm gonna show you guys right now. Let's see. Alright, the best place to do this was on Steam, but you can see clearly this is the Resident Evil 1 remake font style, and they just added the original Resident Evil 1 to Steam. So I'm going to type in Resident Evil 1996. This is the font style from 1996. Classic logo and everything. Classic red that you all know and love. And this is the one from Remake 1, where the font style is not the same. You go to RE2, 1998, because they do have RE2 up here as well. Let me see if I can find that. Different font style. The cover is different as well with the font style a little bit. And if you go to Resident Evil 2 Remake, the font style is also different. So I think that's just a nothing burger. It doesn't have to be the same, and they haven't been the same since the longest time when going from remake to original, and it's not a detriment whatsoever.
You can just see the difference when it comes to the
It's cool looking. Like, I'm not gonna shit on it. It's a cool looking broken glass 4, and it looks mysterious. It looks awesome, but it's just small scale tomatoes. It doesn't really affect anything other than, yes, these remakes and the originals, they have different font styles, and they've been doing them for the longest time now.
Activity and originality.
The remake is soulless compared to this. It really is. It's forgettable, and it feels like they found a formula, and they're just like, okay, now we could just remake anything we want.
I mean, they found a formula when they decided to make Over the Shoulder and keep that going with Capcom and with other developers. So the formula was, hey, RE4 is a fucking colossal hit. Let's keep it going with the action-y side of Resident Evil. Let's make Resident Evil 5, but let's do co-op, right? Wasn't that going forward was something that people liked, and we're gonna get up with brand loyalty regardless? And then you move on to RE6, and then you see that that's when the quality started to become questionable with that game and how far it was jumping the shark. And then other people decided to hop on the train as well, and it led to other successful franchises. So I don't really see what's so bad with imitation if someone can manage to do something and pull it off. I think I'm eternally grateful that we got Uncharted and Gears of War out of that. I am eternally grateful that we got some good third-person, over-the-shoulder games like Evil Within, and you know, people either hearkening back to horror, making like an action game, and making it work. So everything's a formula to be found if you are successful enough, and that's how media works.
About to use that same formula to remake Code Veronica.
I mean, this is coming from Eris, right? Where when they found the formula with Street Fighter 4 going into Street Fighter 5, going into Street Fighter 6, again, that's how business works. You could say that they kind of stepped on a turd with Street Fighter V, but they corrected that turd with Street Fighter 6 and they made it better. So again, most franchises that you know and love and enjoy and appreciate, most video games nowadays, they do follow a design pattern that is similar. And depending on the quality, you can reuse a style, that's fine. Depending on the quality of said style, it's all going to depend if it's really a fundamental video game with what seems familiar as a style choice.
RE5, they're just gonna do that shit until they've gotten as much as they can out of that engine.
I mean, let's be honest, it takes a while to really develop a firing on all cylinders proprietary engine. And for what the RE engine has done, I would say it's mostly successful in its job of capturing those atmospheric games that they created. But of course, naturally, they have to experiment going into the future. And I would imagine it's taking a while to make the new engine for Capcom, namely the Rex engine. And they want to make these open world games better, I assume, because Dragon's Dogma kind of ran crappy, and so did Monster Hunter Wilds, which needed extensive testing to get properly running. And if you're going to want to make those open world games better on a new engine, you have to take time, dedication, and money to experiment. So no shit, they're gonna run this engine dry until the next one, because the next one, they need to compensate for open world and, of course, bigger tech, which is gonna be an expansion of the RE engine. Use what you have now, dry it up, and then when it's time for the future, move on to that engine, and hopefully it's more optimal than the last one. That's kind of how it works. You don't want to end up like Capcom's Panta Ray engine, where they were saying they're making big strides and we're gonna release deep down on the Panta Ray engine, and then you wind up with a game that never comes out ever, right? On that engine, and then the whole engine idea is scrapped for something else. Now they rebound off of that, and they had MT Framework originally, and they rebounded off of the failure of Panta Ray, moving into the RE engine. But yeah, I mean, I would say the RE engine is fine for what it is. It definitely produced some exceptional games I didn't even expect to see on the RE engine, like DMC5, and it runs fine for linear games.
Well, we could, we can make Resident Evil 4 Remake. What's the problem?
I mean, yeah, a game that sold 10 million copies and that is successful, and that a lot of people will grab Resident Evil names and games on brand loyalty alone. It's a no-brainer that they would stick to a pattern formula.
And I think once upon a time, instead of making
Resident Evil 4,
people made
Resident Evil 4.
Once upon a time, they made things. For the first time, they made really impressive things. Once upon a time.
I've worked on a number of Resident Evil titles in the past, and
what was that point? I'm just more confused with that than anything. Do you think that Capcom's not making anything original now, when Onimusha and Pragmata is on the horizon? I don't understand. What is that argument that people say when they say, oh, you're just doing only remakes, you're not making anything original, knowing full well that that does not apply to Capcom whatsoever, because they are doing remakes, remasters, and new games, and also experimental new IPs, which people sometimes they like to say that, oh, there needs to be more original games in the industry, but they don't go out and buy and support all of them like Kunitsugami, right? So you only kind of bring it upon yourself. Guess what? When these new original works aren't supported, they don't do them in favor of safe sequels or safe remake. And we all know that is the case. Therefore, if you want more originality and creativity, then go out and support Pragmata. I know people are going to despise the fuck out of what I'm saying, but it's true. It's true. If you want originality, you have to also equally support it as much as people are supporting these remakes. That's kind of how the river flows. And again, I still say this doesn't apply to Capcom because they're doing innovative things. They're doing new Resident Evil sequels. You're getting new stuff and old stuff. Therefore, for the output, I don't see the problem.
And honestly, I think the series had been recycling the same patterns, the same gameplay each time.
This is when they were talking about fixed camera, just doing another prototypical horror game. Therefore, RE4 was needed to shake up the tide, which is why it's in a completely different perspective of over-the-shoulder camera angles, and you're fighting enemies that are smarter, villagers, the Ganados. They are not your prototypical zombie. Therefore, RE4 did change the game in a lot of ways for the series, and people would say that for better or for worse, because remember, there are folks that also levy criticism in the vein of the original RE4 by saying that, oh, it led to the downfall of Resident Evil due to the fact that it's an action game and it's not a horror game. And what did Capcom do? After RE6, they went right back to horror and they gave people what they wanted with RE7. And then they went back to action with RE8. And then they made a hybrid with horror and action in Requiem. And there's people still dissatisfied about that. I think we have to have a conversation of, do people really know what they want in terms of a forward momentum series? And I don't know if they're gonna do the whole action horror hybrid again. I think it's best if they did action in bouts and they did horror in bouts as well to maintain and appease both sides. So if you do have a veteran, maybe they can have an action side and then you can increase the horror and suspense and make two different campaigns. That would be lovely. Two different campaigns, two different playstyles, and I don't think there would be any complaints on my side, really.
Creators were starting to get bored with it, and many moved to other projects.
Another thing that needs to be pertinent, like, even when it comes to the eve of creativity, if someone is working on the same game over and over again, they may want to try to shake it up, which I applaud them for doing.
So I spoke to Mikami-san, the director, and we talked about reshaping the series and winning back the fans, as well as winning over new fans who thought they would never play a Resident Evil game. So, in order to revitalize the series, we've given it a complete makeover.
For its time, it was the total game changer. They still make games copying what that game reinvented.
Yeah, because it was lightning in a bottle. As I said before, it wasn't really something that was not experimented on with other games, like doing the whole third-person shooting, hitting certain points. I mean, even Operation Winback, if you've played that game, Winback on the N64, you can shoot people in the legs, the arms, and shit like that, and they would react. So even the original Resident Evil 4 is an amalgamation of ideas that were just put together so strongly that it worked out very, very well for them with the context and thematic of the game itself and what they were doing at the time. But if we talk about like innovation and originality, I mean, you see past other games, Kill Switch, Winback, they were incorporating that stuff, but again, you're reinventing the wheel, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it, which is why we have a lot of these over-the-shoulder games that has been paramount today and still selling well and still like being in the hearts of many new people that seem to be enjoying that games despite the anti-remake sentiment that's been going on these days.
When the original came out, one of the biggest factors was how fresh the mechanics were. We knew from the start that in today's landscape, it wouldn't be possible to duplicate that. We never...
Yeah, because you can't hit lightning in a bottle twice, and then all of a sudden, in 2023, 2024, it's like, oh, we're gonna now have lightning in a bottle with a playstyle that's already been popularized, and we're gonna have everyone copy that when they've already done it. You see what I'm saying? That's why in the interviews they say they're just turning the dial up a little bit with familiar elements and mechanics and adding new things to the gameplay itself, which is the parry of Resident Evil 4 Remake.
Never set that as a goal. Instead, our goal was to implement evolutions that have occurred since the original was released.
Yeah.
This rework has been simply titled Resident Evil 4, as if to say that this is the definitive edition of the game. But
this is all semantics to me personally. I think this is just a signifier showing that Resident Evil 4 in 2005 is the older product, which it is, and Resident Evil 4 is the most recent one. That's what I glean out of this the most. I think the most important part is that you can play the original right now if that's the only version you prefer, and that is readily available on the market. And you could also play the remake if you want, if that's supplemental material that you're interested in. I see no issue with this convention of naming or putting fucking years on something that's old whatsoever. It's like they're gonna probably do the same if they do a Code Veronica remake. They're probably gonna do the same if they do a Resident Evil 0 remake. That's why you go out of your way to research and find information in the days of AI and Google. And I don't see an issue if you have an old game like this, like RE4 specifically, available, and you can interchange between the two if you want. Like, it's just a year, a banner year being added to the older game. It does not neglect the older game whatsoever, and I do believe that's nothing but a bunch of assumption and preconceived notions.
there's the problem. The definitive edition is, by that definition, the one that defines a work as an influence, the one that people will think of when they think of its name.
Left 4 Dead, yo.
Yeah, if you think of RE4, then you can go back and play what you prefer as the definitive edition, and you don't need a Steam year to dictate that otherwise. I still don't get the problem.
No, man. Resident Evil 4 takes it by a long shot.
Would anyone bother to remake this remake?
Is the action still there? Is the atmosphere and kind of like...
I don't know, probably in the next like 10, 20 years.
the more goofy elements of Resident Evil 4 are still in there, and it's all in there.
Yeah, it's there.
Yeah.
They just take the IP, the aesthetics, the branding of Resident Evil 4, and then they grafted on this lame Last of Us style ripoff with parries and stealth sections. And
oh god, I was dreading this part. I'm gonna be honest with you, like weapon wheels and fucking toggle wheels and stuff like that. I mean, you had wheels like this, you know, your toggle bars or whatever in video games well before Last of Us and RE4. It's just a lot more convenient that they take these mechanics and they put them into these games, so it's easy to map things on the D-pad, and I don't really see the problem with convenience being used, even if they're in two different styles of games.
And there we go. We did it. We remade the game.
It's like, what the fuck? Okay, and even what he's showing on screen
with parries and stealth sections.
Yeah, you can stealth an enemy. You could stealth enemies well before Last of Us and Resident Evil 4 with Metal Gear Solid, you know, but I digress.
And there we go.
And then it's like, even the functionality of this dodge works differently. In RE4, you're tapping the circle button. In The Last of Us, you can have this universal like fucking dodge system where you could do it whenever you want. Whereas in RE4, it's like certain button prompts or whatever, but you're mostly trying to parry certain enemies, and there's certain enemies in this game that you can't knife parry. And I believe this bullheaded guy is one of them. So you got to press circle to dodge certain attacks, and then you can't do it universally to every enemy. You're required to do a knife parry to certain Ganados. You're not fucking dodging the guy like you can with the universal dodge button with The Last of Us, where you can dodge whatever you want. So even that is not fundamentally the same.
We did it. We remade the game.
He's showing the little throwing mechanic, the arch, which is similar. I will agree with that.
It's a flicker.
Also, sure, that was probably in a bunch of other games too, where you fucking just throw shit with the arch, and they just took it because it was convenient to see where you're throwing one object to the next.
Yo, it really is The Last of Us. That's wild.
It's fine for games to have this if they are fundamentally functional and it just serves a purpose. I don't see the problem.
All these different
Yes, RE4 did influence The Last of Us.
individual elements pulled from all these.
And now The Last of Us Part 2 influenced Resident Evil 4 Remake. Holy shit. And I already broke down a difference between one mechanic that they showed already. And is there things that you could do in The Last of Us and things that you can't do in RE4 Remake, and you do the whole contrast thing and you could probably come up with good debates? Yes, you can. Can I prone in Resident Evil 4 Remake like I could in The Last of Us Part 2? No. Can I do knife parries in The Last of Us Part 2? And no, I can only do that in Resident Evil 4 Remake. So it's like, what is this guy talking about? I don't understand. When you compare, you can compare, but you also have to contrast.
Different sources, then they're just kind of thrown into a blender. This is millennial game design, and
There are similar mechanics, yes, but that does not overall mean that they aren't fundamentally sound, that they don't work, that they aren't, good for the situation that you're put into. I think stuff like stealth in RE4 is fine before a big encounter. It gives the game a bit more depth this time around versus, it spices it up a little bit. I'm not going to say that it needed to be in the original, because the original is just fine for what it is, but it adds a little bit of layer of strategy.
It's your game.
What is this?
I guess you could kind of say that the knife is a get out of jail free card. I treat it more in line with a defense item. And that's the fact that, hey, you have one hit before you're killed and your knife is gone. And if you don't have any other knives and the chainsaw guy manages to get you again, you're still dead. It's just one step of the way there. It's more of a risk and reward system, in my personal opinion, where, yes, you can decide to break the knife, but you have no knife for the rest of the fight or any other preceding fights until you run into the merchant or find a small knife. Therefore, you're still scavenging to stay alive. You still have to micromanage supplies to stay alive because, hey, if you're fighting the Bella Sisters and you break one knife with a chainsaw, unless you have another one immediately on the spot, you're pretty much dead, right? And this game goes from fight to fight to fight to lower and lower and lower knife durability. I was crying at one point when I was fighting 2 Garradors on hardcore and I didn't have a knife on me, so I had to improvise. I had to use the mine launcher to blow them up and use all my ammo and use all my shotgun ammo because I could not parry them because I didn't have the scrap, the resources. I didn't have enough money to find another knife. It was hard for me. It was still difficult regardless.
I mean, the chainsaw guy was the marquee villain of RE4. He's on the cover. You can't just trivialize the guy who's supposed to strike terror in your heart by Sekiro dinging his ass off you with a knife.
Putting that.
I mean, let's be honest. If you know what you're doing in this game, you can make any enemy your bitch. And that goes for the original. Like the chainsaw guy. If I want him to not be near me whatsoever, guess what I do? I throw grenades and he goes down. There, he's trivialized. You see what I mean? The same thing that you're saying with I could do a knife parry. I could just get a couple of grenades, a shotgun, keep shooting him in the head, and he's dead. Right? Because I know what I'm doing. I could trivialize the situation because I know how to play the game. Both encounters, whether you're fighting the chainsaw guy in the village and you don't know what to do, and the same goes for the original, they can still be intense and scary if you're just a noob. You don't know how to aim properly. You don't know how to parry properly. You don't even know what the fuck's going on with the controls. There is always going to be a different delineation between a skilled person and someone just seeing this for the first time and going, what the fuck's going on? I don't know the controls. The same thing can happen for the original. Oh, I don't know the controls. Oh, wait, he chainsawed me. I'm dead. Oh, wait, in the remake, he grabs me, and I can't get this guy off me in time, and the chainsaw guy is, like, approaching my vicinity. Oh, wait, I am dead. You see, it's the same shit. You can still have that high dramatic tension due to differing situations with both Resident Evil 4s. You can skill check any of these enemies and overcome the situation, or they can skill check you and you could become surrounded in a bad circumstance. It's all about push and pull with Resident Evil 4 and Resident Evil 4 Remake. But as I said, you know, you get your one defense item or you get your little baby knife that doesn't even last that long. And after that, you have to strategize because once you're hit or grabbed again, you can't parry. That option is taken away from you.
A lifeline in place where it's like, oh, we know we can block the chainsaw. We know we can block it, so we're not scared of it anymore.
But you can't do it all of the time, and that is paramount and important. Like I said, knives, durabilities, they all run out, and when you have nothing, what are you going to do then? Besides either be really good at maneuvering around or taking the hit.
It takes away the tension.
I disagree with the tension being taken away.
Whereas in this, you know you're going down when that chainsaw guy gets close. There's a sense of tension there.
You can still go down if you have nothing to parry with. And this fight is so excruciating on hardcore. With no knife, I did it, and I was still crying at the end of it. Holy shit, bro.
Come on, Capcom. Like, really? You ain't even gotta route your enemies no more. You don't need to do all that. All you gotta do is pop up LB to stop every single monster in the game.
Increase the durability of the...
That's if you're good at parrying, which some people aren't. Or they miss time, or they get hit. Again, there is a lot of factors in the combat in this game that I think is being oversimplified a lot.
Knives, and then do it again! So many knives.
I mean, they give you so many knives. It makes you wonder why even have durability if you're gonna have so many knives.
I like how he asked that question, but then it was another guy earlier that said it takes away the tension. What do you think the durability is meant to do? Give you tension when you run out of all of those knives in the first place. And again, like I said, you can't go around and just parry everything. You can't do it because, again, if you go from fight to fight to fight, and it's like, damn, I really wish I had a knife and I wish I had the merchant in this situation. That's what made me think twice, and I was like, maybe I should save this weapon depending on the encounter so I could do this chainsaw parry and not get one-shotted.
Oh, I have 2 more knives, you scrub. I didn't know I had so many knives.
In addition to that, the chainsaw guy in the original game, it's quick, it's sudden. There's no fucking like, let me rev this chainsaw up, 10-second fucking little death scene animation. No, your head's chopped off, you're fucking dead.
I do love this animation provided in the original RE4, where it's like it's quick, painful, and brutal. He slices off your
Boom, out of
fucking
no-
head and you're dead, right? But that's not to say that, you know, RE4 Remake doesn't have some pretty gnarly, gory, and bloody kills. Like I do think they put the bar somewhere where it comes to like certain kills, and you see certain ways that Leon dies. But there is like a lot of classic kills as well that I am shocked it did not make it into the game. Like when the Notivisters, when they jump on you and they spit acid on your face, and Leon, like, his fucking face melts off, or Leon gets like stabbed in the throat by I think it's the little midget Napoleon Salazar, I believe. Once you impale him in the hand and the guy throws it back. Yeah, there is certain cool death scenes that I'm surprised is not here anymore. Also, let me pause it because my package is here. I'll be right back. I am back. What was I saying? I said the original had more gnarlier death scenes. The remake still has some pretty good ones. And the tension is still paramount between the two.
Nowhere. That was the beauty of that. So they just don't understand. They don't get it.
They've managed to suck all the character out of the UI of this game. The menus in the original RE4 had way more character, dirty, rusty, reflecting the game's environment. Now the UI has this cold, clean, empty, minimalist look, which doesn't suit the game.
I agree with the notion of the UI and the menus looking far more cooler in the original game than the remakes. But I mean, you know, minimalist, I have no problem with a minimalist style that's easy on the eyes, that has some like smaller virtues of certain things, like a slightly smaller health bar, and you can still pay attention to it, or you could customize things with accessibility, which I think there is accessibility options in this game for the eyes to see. Therefore, yes, the original does look pretty damn bitching in my personal opinion, but if I talk about a minimalist design, then I don't mind the remake having that cut, clean style. Although I do like the dirtiness, you know, the steel background that you see in the original. But it's not enough to say, oh, bad game, terrible game, bad UI. I do like minimalist because sometimes it can be easy on my eyes.
Has this cold, clean, empty, minimalist look, which doesn't suit the game. And even judged on those terms, it really lacks a sense of style. You no longer...
Yeah, like I like the little Leon belt menu. That's pretty cool. I'm not gonna argue that. That looks awesome.
Get to see some cool animations.
The typewriter in the original is cooler.
Files lack the photographic detail that made them feel personalized in the original.
The whole screen with transition.
Another thing I agree with, the photos in the background showing the anonymous letter. You see Ada's letter with her red lipstick on it. It's just a nice touch, a nice attention to detail. But again, I'm not gonna say, oh, whole thing bad because the certain thing isn't there. I did enjoy reading some files in RE4 with a clean design and a clean look, and getting some background lore and getting some extra lore. Additionally, with learning that Luis is researcher, and he was a researcher with the Europe umbrella, and they integrated that into the game, and I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of cool that they did some connectivity there. And he worked on Nemesis for the first time, and you know, harkening back to Resident Evil 3 Remake. So I did appreciate the stuff that they were doing as well. And you know, this stuff is missed as well. Would I like to see this again, where they do attention to detail with the letters? Absolutely, absolutely. I have no problems with that whatsoever.
Into an engaging piece of art for us to absorb ourselves into.
Like, you see the little backgrounds, the little scribbles, the little drawings. Like, that's fine.
You'd go into a certain room, and before you even knew what was in that room, you'd have that safe room music.
Oh, there's no safe room music.
Ending a chapter.
That's just that to me is a little. It's just a little whatever, right? music does. It really brings the atmosphere up a notch when it's integrated, when it's there. But me personally, I had the classic sounds on, so I don't know if there's a difference between that and the sound that you get with the modern soundtrack, but I never played with it on, so that's never been really a problem to me. I think the music and stuff and the classic sound effects sparked when it did because I bought the deluxe edition. So I was familiar with it. I was used to it. I don't know if the music plays here when you have the classic sounds on. Maybe someone in the comment section could mention that. But personally speaking, like I already know all the old Resident Evil 4 sounds like in the back of my head. What I'm here for is the new aesthetics and the new gameplay and where they put those old soundtracks in when you have it turned on with deluxe, and it really harkens back to those old times. I still get that nostalgia while playing the game and having those certain options featured.
Oh, there's no safe room music.
Ending a chapter used to have this unhinged, jittery text matching the crazy, macabre events unfolding, and cool blocks of writing on top of a bright, washed-out picture that made it look like some weird old case file being displayed on a projector.
They didn't get it. There's no character.
Oh, it's a black screen. The game's a 0 out of 10. I do, again, I like the character art and all that stuff. It is pretty cool, but again,
They didn't get it.
I don't think it's enough for me to say, oh, this game has lost its edge or character or anything of that nature. I still think it's a pretty, interesting looking game, even without all the artworks displayed right there. And maybe it's a thing of some people just either don't notice it or they don't care too much. Like it takes a certain level of care. Like some people who love the original will notice more about these details being gone, and then there's some others where it either doesn't bother them that much or they are simply fine with it being gone. Like, I want to get to the next chapter, bro. I want to experience more gameplay. Why would I spend time looking at a screen for some art for like a long period of time? Again, I'm not one of those people. I do love the artworks, but I'm not going to complain to a level where I will diminish the quality of the game because of it. It is sort of almost bordering into nitpicking status just a little bit, just a tiny bit, a little bit. But I do get this complaint here from the old heads who liked some of these artwork renditions and maybe they wanted to see them redone.
They didn't get it.
So I'm not gonna say they're stupid, but I'm also gonna say that this didn't bother me way too much,
There's no character. No one's remembering that in 15 years. Forgettable, clinical, lack of any individuality. It's like a soulless corporate entity made this shit.
Coming in this section didn't give me the feeling that someone took the time to design any of this. No.
That's a wild statement to say, talking about the interiors and backgrounds and everything.
No aesthetics to it whatsoever. It is just
like, maybe it's just me, people, but for certain interiors, or at least the ones that are in the game, and knowing that it's a remake, I'm not going to expect all of them to look 100% the same in terms of how they drew out things like robes on the sides of the walls or statues or shit like that.
Realism, at least it's, it's just realism. And this is when I also knew, this is like RE8,
okay.
It's the first thing I thought of.
When you turn on a game, you see a bunch of stuff. Some of it you'll recognize. And then there are the things that make you go,
Megascans is one of the largest libraries of high-quality 3D assets. They're used in everything, from video games to movies, and there's over 14,000 assets.
It just feels way more generic. It feels like every other Resident Evil game where
Oh, we have the assets argument. I'm gonna let them finish to a certain point.
4 felt so distinctive.
And then he brings up, oh, the team spent 11 days like photographing objects like Gothic statues. They went to the UK. And, you know, all that stuff's cool. That's fine and dandy. But I'm going to tell you something that's realistic. Doing this and doing like actual research, getting in certain locations and trying to find that Castellanian look, as well as using generated objects or reuse assets and all that other stuff, it all is costing one way or the other. It's for the latter of finding reuse assets or using reused things. It's all to cut cost on production, which, let's be honest, I mean, some of our gamers out there aren't really the most patient people if they cannot wait for certain studios to finish certain games, or AAA takes way too long. Rah, 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 we want our game now, now, now. And this is why they do this stuff. This is why they cut down on costs and reductions and whatnot. And it's not like Resident Evil hasn't been known to reuse assets before. If you want to use a famous example of the OGs, you have OG RE2 and OG RE3. And I know someone's going to say, but Renegade, they take place in the same period of time and space. And yes, you are correct, but they did reuse the RPD, and I'm clear and certain that was an asset flip, and it made things a lot more easier to migrate over into the next game. And then you have other reuse assets, which I'm going to talk about. Let's see if I can find them. Hold on, give me a second. We found it. We have this one. Well, later in the video, he starts to talk about, oh, they reuse this sort of chalice from Resident Evil Village to Resident Evil 4. Remember, like I said, cutting cost. It's not like this hasn't happened, because you have this shotgun here that you get from Richard Aiken, and it looks very similar to the Riot shotgun. And this guy saying, did you know that the Riot shotgun from the OG Resident Evil 4 is a recycled model from Resident Evil 1 Remake? Since forever, RE and the whole damn industry recycles that shit to boost productivity on other stuff. Don't talk nonsense, you dumbasses. And, well, you have an example of RE4 doing a similar construct here, right? You want to cut down certain costs and focus your energy elsewhere. And the other thing that I think I was going to mention was, yeah, going out into the field and photographing shit and getting all this research and stuff that costs money and time and effort to do, where it's much easier to find a piece of a quick scan or a reuse object and put it into the game. And as this guy said right here, it's not like the older game didn't do it at the same time, you know? So that probably saved them, like, sitting there and making an entirely new shotgun. Why don't we just use the one from Remake 1 and that's it? I have no problem with that whatsoever. On both ends, they can do what they want to do with certain aspects at play if it makes the game productive in other areas, and it makes certain things faster as they detail this into the game. And I'm not shitting on this. I believe this looks beautiful. This is all cool stuff that they're doing.
Across the top of the Great Hall there.
Hey, Mr. Beast here. Today we're gonna buy every item in this store. Let's do it.
Resident Evil 4 will...
Again, there's nothing wrong with cost-cutting measures with environments and video games, with the way people complain about AAA games being like, oh, it takes 8 years in the pipe. We have to support the indie scene for, you know, taking relatively shorter time. This should be the way that video games should be made. when I think when it comes to art, I wouldn't stifle creativity. Make your game efficient and make it look however you want. You know, as long as it looks good and nice and presentable to the eyes, and it has detail, right? That's all I care about.
Soon be getting the full modern Capcom facelift.
What are we doing? What are we doing? All these games are asset.
Again, fucking, why does he not believe that the old game does not have an asset flip in itself? It's like, and I'm not shitting on RE4. I think the effort that they put here is tremendous, but Capcom is known for doing this, bro. And I'm sure there's many other examples as well. They probably borrowed assets from their old prototypes, like they did with DMC1 and the whole, you know, castle vibe that they were going for. Just they redid it in a different way.
Flips, dude. It's like literally the same thing.
The village.
I also don't mind consistent text. I really don't. So that's nothing I really have too much of an issue with whatsoever. Even people beyond Capcom, they use consistent text. Like some of the you see the rig, the HUDs for Dead Space and how they use some of the text. Like some of those have been consistent. Do we complain? Oh, game to game. Oh my god, it's the same text. No, like those details. Someone will notice them, but other people, they won't care.
In the original game, had this really stark, empty, desolate ghost town feel to it that really was unnerving and eerie. Instead,
beautiful environment.
Instead, what they went with the remake is that it's overgrown and cluttered.
It looks pretty linear. Like, when I mean linear, I mean super linear. Despite the old one being linear,
it looks super linear, despite the old one also being some of the same pathways when you go into the first entrance of the village. And there's that like little jagged road, and then there's the back that you go into. Oh yeah, pretty damn linear. But I'm gonna try to cite this critique.
It still felt pretty open, you know.
If anything, in terms of openness and new environments and shit, didn't the remake put like new areas in? The caves, right, that you go into when you're on the boat and everything, isn't that like all fucking new? And nobody's talking about that. So that is a modicum of effort put into the experience that could be considered as, oh, you're expanding now. That's what you're supposed to be doing. You have these older areas and you make different pathways. Nobody's talking about the portion where I think the area of the village tower or whatever. I know it's like this weird bridge that the chainsaw guy cuts down, and you can't go through that path anymore, right? And if you try to do that, you get stuck. And they have environmental damage that comes across, like certain towers crashing down. You can't go towards. Sometimes dogs will spawn, and then you can't go back. It's like the original doesn't do that for the first section of the village with those dynamic sort of scripted environments where it blocks off your path and you have to think properly. So you gotta commend them at least somewhere, right? But that's not to say that these rural, like fucking fog like settings aren't awesome.
And it still felt like you could go anywhere, despite you could.
You can't go anywhere and then put the word linear in the same sentence. It doesn't work like that.
It still looked and felt like you could go anywhere.
It felt too boxed in and way too cluttered.
And that's kind of the go-to plan for the remake is...
Isn't the village supposed to feel claustrophobic in a way, right? And this could apply to both games. This criticism is just kind of confusing to me.
Whenever we want to make something scary, let's just make it cluttered, dark, and bloody. That'll do the trick.
And they're shoving it down your throat. They're shoving it down your throat. Every freaking piece of this game is blood everywhere. Let's plaster blood everywhere in terms of the aesthetics and in terms of just overdoing it.
Why wouldn't there be blood with people who got Vlad the Impaler? They got decapitated and they have their heads on a gate. I just think that's adding detail to the environment. If a body got fucking splattered or a head comes off, yeah, it's supposed to be blood seeping into the environment. What?
In the original, you go into the village and you don't really know what the fuck's going on. There's one scene where, you know, the lady's hung up by the pitchfork.
Which is blood splattered all over her because she got a pitchfork stuck right through the back of her head, right? So what? You know, when it aesthetically matters, I don't understand arguing against it. Like, I'm seeing a fucked up village with fucked up individuals doing fucked up things, burning children, and making that very, very paramount in the original. When you find out, you go, oh, well, the kids, they couldn't handle the Lost Plaga. So it does add that layer of suspense and mystery as to what is going on. But when you find out, it still is kind of like just raw, in your face, is visceral, is brutality. And that's kind of what I think the games were going for, is to show you that this is a rural village where everyone's minds are gone. And their actions, you know, slaughtering animals, fucking killing people, burning their children or whatever, it still adds that layer of tension. Like, oh shit, I seem to be the only sane one here.
But that's basically it until you get to the chainsaw guy.
And part of the mystery of this game...
I mean, when I first played the original, I don't know how much of this subtlety monster energy drink this guy is drinking, but even when I played the original, I knew something was immediately off. Well before we got to this cutscene, well before we got to the chainsaw guy, because of the camera watching the police officer and the way the environment was framed. I was like, okay, we're going to deal with some serious shit once Leon gets outside of this car and starts moving forward. And then you move forward into this weird looking cabin and you're like, oh, okay. And then you see the camera angle, someone watching you inside of the cabin, and you got your gun out and everything. I already knew shit was gonna pop off immediately from the first scene in Resident Evil 4. It didn't take me all the way to the chainsaw guy to know that. You know, due to the environment and the framing and the setup and everything. So I don't... Again, I just don't understand. I feel like we have jumped into a grave of nitpicking for something that was already obvious and there in the first place. And people seem to have a hard time grasping and understanding that it was already paramount from Jump Street. That's what I feel about that.
It's finding out what these new enemies are. I can't say that they are not zombies.
Yeah, and you start to figure and find that out in the first encounter, which is really great. And then you have just these insurmountable odds that the game throws at you that makes the original Resident Evil 4 so fucking good. And the remake just piles that on. And it makes you familiar, but it also makes it difficult as they go around and they break stuff in the environment. You can't go in certain places. Things are changed. Things might be rearranged, reworked, and it might rewire your brain to say, oh, this is something familiar, but it's also something different. Holy crap, I've noticed that I've been doing this for like an hour, so let's continue onward.
It looks like the people here carry out their lives like ordinary people. They even read books. Yeah.
The people in this house eat like normal humans.
Huh. They use toilets. Guess they're at least somewhat civilized. I mean, they are human, as far as we're aware.
Well, they used to be like ordinary people before the infection. It's still cool lore. I still love the lore of the original RE4.
Right?
In the process, you'll find out who these people are and why they're doing what they're doing.
There's a build-up to it, and there's a build-up to it in a way that makes sense. This is coming right out of the gate with stupid shit.
What, like them committing ritualistic acts and murders? I mean, it's not like they didn't murder a guy and fucking pin him to the middle of the village and went on with their day. I mean, these people are more or less turned into super aggressive maniacs with the parasite inside of them, and they're committing these acts for their lord, Sadler. So all this extra salad dressing that the remake does in the beginning with, you know, them doing their red herrings and wanting to throw people off the scent with them sacrificing these girls for ritualistic murders, and you think, oh, maybe one of them is Ashley or whatever, maybe they're killing her, right? It increases the situation to be tense in another dire way, meaning I have to get to Ashley quickly because, you know, what if she's dead? It's the same thing they do with the dog as well, where you see a black dog that's dead and you think that's the original wolf dog when you know it's white, but it's just that one thing that they changed that throws you off. And I think that's what they were trying to go with a different opener, with a ritual, with the girls that all kind of look similar or whatever. I did see through it. It was easy to see through, but them changing certain things around, and you don't know what to expect, and that's sort of the same respect and courtesy that I gave to Resident Evil 1 Remake, where the dog doesn't necessarily crash through the window the first time you go in the hallway. He like smacks the window, and then when you come back through the other way, he then crashes through, subverting your expectations.
No fucking way.
The guy with the broken neck, you could tell, yeah, they're already fucked up. But I don't mind this. Like I said, I clocked the theme of abnormality when I first walked into that dude's house and he wasn't responding to me and he was looking outside of his window and it was people watching us. Therefore, there was always that element of, I want to say, shock factor when you walked into this secluded, isolated place where evil resides.
In the original, the reason why the chainsaw guy was scary because he looked more human. In this, it's just like fucking like dinosaur eyes. It looks stupid. It's fake.
I mean, they're affected, and so I kind of get why, aesthetically. Why it's all bugged out like that, man.
It feels so Halloween-y. Sacrificial lamb.
Oh, get that. A Resident Evil game feels Halloween-y. It feels spooky. What? Okay. It feels gothic. Okay. What? Okay.
So Halloween-y. Sacrificial lambs.
There's something far more unnerving about the villagers' lack of acknowledgement in the original RE4.
This part I agree with. I kind of like how they don't give a fuck and they go about their day as opposed to them praying now all of a sudden, right?
Unnerving about,
but I don't mind it. It's just a different choice.
The villagers' lack of acknowledgement in the
but I do slightly like more how nobody cares. This human body is like hooked up. He's staked up right here. He's fucking dead. They just massacred this guy and they don't give a shit. It's just back to business as usual.
Original RE4.
But I also understand the praying aspect. I'm not really mad at it whatsoever.
This is the beginning of the game?
Because ritualistic murders, again, it makes sense to me.
Just shoving it right in your face. Oh, this is spooky, you know. Let's remind the gamer that this is spooky.
When trying out this new camera, there was a lot of trial and error, seeing how close to or how far from the character would work the best.
You cannot move and fire at the same time, nor can you strafe from side to side as you can in a typical shooter. This dynamic has an exceptional way of heightening tension, since your foes love to try to surround you.
Whereas now with the remake and its generic third-person aiming, you're never wondering what's behind you. You know what's behind you. You can just start aiming at all directions.
You can reload.
Okay, this... Oh god, we can now aim and shoot. All the tension is taken away. This is something that I don't agree with. Okay, I do respect the designers for what they were going for, but I don't mind the updates of moving and shooting. We could move and shoot in Resident Evil Outbreak File 2. You can move and shoot in that game. You can move and shoot in Revelations and all that other shit. And they updated the Resident Evils more and more to have those mechanics. The Resident Evil 6, you can move and shoot. Resident Evil 7, you can move and you can shoot at the same time. The further games, the remakes, you can move and shoot with RE2 and RE3 and now RE4. It's just something that's been adopted into place, and it's not just RE4's fault for doing it for the remake. What is, like, this is just an update of modern design, and I remember people kind of were making fun of pop and stop. Oh, what is this pop and stop shit where you stop, you can't move, you reload, you get hit, you have no versatility in movement. Why isn't the guy moving and shooting? Why is the fact that we have games like Resident Evil 4 OG, but in Last of Us you can move and shoot? It's just an update with the times. That's it. And naturally, as you evolve systems, this was going to come into play in the paradigm sooner or later. Like, sooner or later, it would have been a conversation of, should we still do pop and stop when our competition is not doing that anymore and they're getting success from it? Like, should we do pop and stop when we see our competition like Gears of War that has a very, very good cover system, and it has like mechanics where you don't pop and stop, you're like fucking rolling all over the place, you're adapting to the versatility? Should we do this when we could also make the enemies a bit more ferocious and make them more numerous and make them surround you more? Because you can't see behind yourself, right, with over the shoulder. You can only see what's in front of you. So how do we make things more crazier? Where, of course, naturally, like in the original RE4, I love that enemies could throw shit at you while you're doing the pop and stop, and sometimes they'll hit you, sometimes they won't. They do it in this game, or they fucking rush at you in Remake 4, and it's still tense, even with moving and shooting. And it's all about positioning, dude. Like, if you're in the wrong place or whatever, and it's just a flood of people, right, and you're being overwhelmed and you're running out of ammo, that still adds to the equation. We talk about tension, and the ammo economy for Resident Evil 4 Remake is a bit more smaller in comparison to the OG, where you're just kind of drowning in bullets. In this one, at least when I was playing on hardcore, I felt like I had less to work with, and I had to really, really, really strategize for these big brawls that you had versus the original. It never made me think that way when I played the original. I felt like I had so much ammunition at points where it was stupid, that I could handle most situations if I knew what I was doing, because that's kind of how it operates. Like, when you do that first playthrough of Resident Evil OG, the novelty kind of just wears down in tension when you realize that, you know, now I am more equipped for the situation. Of course, you could do the same thing here, but again, if we talk about tension and pop and stop and shooting and whatnot, it was only inevitable for them to do this, which I don't find as a detriment whatsoever. I would like you to update your systems and refine things and make elements better in terms of movement and controls and things of that nature. Where, you know, Resident Evil 4 OG is functional, it works. I agree, but it's like now you think about it and you have this freeform movement that you have nowadays, and then you go back to OG RE4 and it's kind of like, you know, this hardcore pop stop tank control like shooter, which is definitely a choice. It's not a bad choice, but I can see why they progressed into more, you know, intricate and cooler systems that you could do for a third person. Like, the mobility was obviously going to increase from the outset when playing these games. And nowadays, you know, you might have some people that say, oh, the OG felt a little bit sluggish, and why can't I move like quickly or things of that nature? Not that I fully agree with these people. I do believe that the OG, you can work the shit out of some tank controls. I think you can do that, and I am used to it by this point. I don't mind it. I actually do like it.
Mid reposition.
But for positioning, versatility, all that other stuff, and it being a bit more quicker and getting out of the way just like that, as opposed to, oh, I have to do a quick turn and then move the other way. Well, maybe I'll get hit for that window of time in turning and trying to move away. You know, there's differing other factors to consider when going from OG to original. I don't think the tension is lost. Again, it's just a thing of tension is being done in different ways. You can be Speedy Gonzalez in Remake 4 and still get fucking butchered in half because, well, and I say this as a criticism of the game, there's a giant lack of iframes now, so you have to be more careful in being hit, otherwise you'll be wombo comboed. You'll be beaten into oblivion for not paying too much attention, and you have to do that this time around, and you have to like maneuver around people, and if you don't, then you're gonna get fucking clobbered. In the OG, you know, you got in a certain position, you hunkered down, you did that stopping and popping, and then you moved quickly to the next area as much as you could. But yes, can there be tension from stop and pop gameplay? Of course there can. But I believe that we have updated to a better point for controls, for gunplay of that magnitude, that can feel a little bit more seamless in the process. And that's all that is, really.
While angling the camera to keep an eye on the enemy.
I'm constantly like rotating the camera and checking where I'm like, what's behind me.
You don't. Oh, I'm so lazy to turn the camera around. Oh my god.
Don't have that whole risk reward system of having to manage what's creeping up behind you.
Before you.
One guy complained about rotating the camera. So, and then that clip kind of led into, well, there's no risk and reward because you kind of can look behind yourself now. What? You still have to pay attention to the environment at all times, no matter if you have a rotational camera or not. And the same goes for the original. Like, you don't have a rotational camera, so you have to be vigilant with what's going on with sound effects and, you know, seeing if you've been alerted by the ganados and enemies and the quick turns, and just seeing the scope of what's in front of you and not getting boxed in, which is paramount for both games. Not getting boxed in with the original and the remake. If you get boxed in, you get fucked.
We're trapped in this cramped space with an unpredictable monster who would dip around all over the place chaotically. The camera system never quite allowing you to keep track of him at all times. Now,
this just seems like, you know, argumentation of design choice, which it is, really, and things obscuring your vision, which, I mean, it's gonna be a shocker to some of you guys out there. Some people don't like not keeping track of an enemy, or it might feel a little bit frustrating to them. Mendez will not let you stay up here forever.
The edges are sanded off and it's less intense, less memorable.
Like, this guy beat my ass hardcore. Still, even I would say both fights do serve their purpose, even with all the fog and everywhere around and burning down. I do like that aesthetic touch. I'm not shitting on it at all. But I'm also saying that
the camera
like neither is bad.
System never quite allowing you to.
And it's another symptom of doing different things. Like, yes, the camera doesn't keep up. It obscures vision. It keeps him sort of cloaked in until you hear his noise and he starts roaring. And then in this one, sometimes he doesn't even let you fucking breathe. He just runs up on you real quick or smacks you or has more wide sweeping attacks while you were up here. So even those are a bit harder to really dodge if you're not really paying attention. And that's what they did. Like, or he throws shit at you, which I don't think he did in the original game. That keeps you on your toes. And then he picks up barrels which will explode and he throws them at you. So you gotta keep on your toes even more. It just feels like a lot is being left out with the differing elements that they introduced into this fight.
Plus, with a narrower view, there's more tension, and by being up close, it's easier to feel like you're right there in the game.
It is not the way...
It's still tense, though.
It is because it's an old game and the designers didn't know any better. It isn't outdated just because it isn't like every newer game.
カメラの画角、普通の TPS と今で言う TPS とも違う
But nowadays there's this assumption that adding features to make...
Was that Mikami that they were talking to? I see the village thing in the background.
TPS と今で言う
They even say it's just different back then to now. Like these. Okay, I'm gonna level with you guys. Like, for the most staunch defenders of the original games and original actiony RE4, do you think Stop and Pop would fly now if Gears also reinvented the wheel and it made a game where you could have like some tense moments and have moving and shooting present? Like, okay, here's the truth, right? And this is what those people will probably not accept, but folks also shat on Stop and Pop, saying that it's not even realistic in the slightest. If I'm aiming a gun, I'm gonna be trying to move, maybe evade, get cover, and, you know, reposition naturally, as opposed to just standing there waiting to get my head cut off or something of that effect. Maybe not so much in that terminology, but you get what I'm saying, where I don't think that them updating this model is them shitting on the original. They just want to do tension in their own sort of unique way by giving the player a lot more freedom in control scheme.
TPS とも違う
But nowadays there's this assumption that adding features to make a game more in line with modern audiences' expectations automatically makes it better.
Now when he runs, he has this weird sort of delay or inertia. He doesn't have precision in his movement. There's this heaviness, awkwardness to it where you're never quite fully in control of Leon's movement. And then on top of that,
I think this is once again this whole inertia thing. I don't have a problem. I'm just speaking from personal experience. Like, I don't want to devalue this man for what he's trying to say, because I know that this is a hodgepodge of reactions from speedrunners, and obviously they probably played the game like 9,000 times, so they're gonna know better than I do. But in this situation, in this case, even with fighting Krauser, I was not ignoring him and getting hit like the gameplay shows. I was getting in there and doing parries and knocking him down and hitting him with a shotgun because there was this threat in front of me. There was traps all over the place. I had to be conscious of that. I had to do what I had to do.
awkwardness to it where you're...
As for the animations being heavier and different, it's all the name of the game, right? You're going to have this feeling of sharpness and precision with how Leon flows with the original. And this one, it does feel a bit more bulky. So I do
never
agree
quite
with that.
fully in control of Leon's movement. And then
I do feel like Leon could be a bit faster in the game, but I don't feel like it hampered my enjoyment because you do have the slightly wider view. You do know what's going on. You can parry. So the game does give you the tools and the options to handle things in a certain particular and specific fashion.
top of that, there's a lot of gun sway and there's a lot of imprecision with your aiming in terms of actually lining up and firing.
I've never had this happen to me, so this is all experience based. I'm gonna say that for the record. Like I said, I'm being very fair with this one. Someone having issues with a bullet just dropping and hitting the wrong thing, or like he just aimed solely at the barrel. Now, every time I aimed at the barrel, that motherfucker exploded. Okay, that motherfucker went night night. But in this case, it just might be a fit of bad luck. Might be a fit of maybe there was a glitch there. It might be a fit of what the fuck is this? Again, if this happens ever so often to someone out there, I would undoubtedly believe it. I've seen stranger things.
Wow, how did that hit the box, dude?
But yeah, that's crazy.
Excuse me?
And that's crazy.
Holding down while aiming for a few moments will increase the accuracy and chance of a critical hit.
Like, did you see that?
Sometimes shot will stagger, sometimes they don't.
I know when I want a headshot, I always do that long sight aim where I wait for like maybe 2 or 3 seconds and then I pull the trigger. But every other shot is like, you know, just a regular random shot, especially quick shot in the leg and then melee. That's what I go for with this game.
Are you kidding me?
Drop the girl.
This kid, dude, I kicked this guy.
You do have moments in the remake where you're shooting someone in the head and they don't feel it.
And shot him in the head 4.
That kind of can go paramount too. Because I had that happen with RE2 remake where I shoot someone in the head and the zombie just doesn't do anything. So I have to keep shooting them in the head until they're dead. But I think that's just the way the enemies were ironclad in some of these games, and they wanted to feel like that was a way to make it harder. Whether you like it or not is personally up to you. But for me, it's something of observation.
Times, and he's alive. What are you made of?
Furthermore, stuns come in the forms of so much fuckery in this game.
That hit me? No shot. Why is he so tanky?
Somebody can walk in a window, and if you're near that person when they climb in the window, you will get stunned.
Why can't I stun him jumping out the window?
I agree, they are tanky.
Gameplay,
they can be tanky in spots. They can either be tanky or they'll blow apart immediately when you pull out like certain shit, and it's just like, oh, okay, well that dude didn't last for 5 seconds. Or mostly the Ganado are paper mache to explosions. That's what I like to go off of. Like, they're mostly paper. They will fucking just die almost immediately at times. So you can improvise that way and, you know, chuck your grenade or get your shotgun out.
Not Resident Evil 4 gameplay. Like, I don't know what they were like. Resident Evil 6 is more akin to Resident Evil 4 than this because it is more action arcade.
They knew the fundamental.
Oof, RE4. And then RE4, here's the thing about original RE4 gameplay, so it's probably another proof bomb. And people have said this time and time again when they were criticizing that game. The thing about RE4 gameplay is that it's very simplistic when you get it all down pat. You're going about and you're shooting someone in the leg and you're doing a quick time event and you're shooting them in the head and they're dead. So this is probably an answer, a reaction to them not making every encounter so easy by making the enemies ironclad and tanky in the first place. I know it's not the most perfect excuse, but again, I think they actually did make this excuse when talking about RE2 Remake and saying that, oh, well, you know, with the over the shoulder, you could easily shoot a zombie in the head and get a headshot. So you have to constantly shoot off his face in order to do more significant damage to get to the brain to pop the head. Sometimes you may get a critical, other times you may not. And for RE4's sake, I mean, it was so easy getting certain headshots that it was kind of ridiculous. I mean, you pop open the bolt action sniper rifle and you aim down the sight, so you aim for Ganato's head and you fucking blow his brains out in the early section of the village and it's dead, right? That's why I think they introduced the broken neck enemies in Remake 4 early, because it's the same philosophy as when their heads pop and you see the Plaga parasite at nighttime in RE4. They knew that if the game would have continued in this fashion of not doing anything to vary up the enemies, it would have been way too easy. Just get them on the ground, shoot them in the head, boom, they're easily dead. So they had to implement this mechanic of, oh, now the Plaga spawn. Oh, now you have Plagas that will spawn that will eat off Leon's head if you leave them there, and they're basically not getting hit by a flash grenade or a shotgun or something very powerful.
You can lure enemies to a door, push a dresser in front of it to block them, and then shoot through the door to buy yourself more time.
Yeah, this I'm surprised by, that you can't shoot through doors.
It's literally...
But it's not a deal breaker, personally. If I'm being honest, I think you start to fortify interiors less as the game goes on. There's that first moment in the village where you're confronted by the chainsaw guy in OG RE4, and then you start to do it again when you meet up with Luis, because that's about fortification, that's about the giant holdout in the house. And then afterwards, there's really no use for fortifying dressers, because you just don't do it in other sections, to my memory at least. But I know shooting through wooden doors afterwards is still viable until you get to the castle, to which like most of the doors are like steel anyway, right? So afterwards it just stops being viable as a mechanic in the game after a certain amount of time. It did add a layer of strategy, so that point I do agree on. Is that for introducing like point-to-point shooting, it's weird that you can't shoot through something as simple as a door and hit an enemy. But like I said, the shooting is so cool and refined that I want to open a door and blast someone's head off with a shotgun anyway. So that's how I feel.
in the manual. It's in the hints section. You can shoot enemies through wooden doors.
Ashley, get in the room. Get in the room. Run.
Oh, there's gonna be a point of contention here. People are probably not gonna like my opinion on this part, but I'm gonna let them continue.
Where are you going?
In the originals, she's as easy to work with as AI companions come. She stays right behind Leon, and the camera even zooms out so that you don't lose sight of her.
Wait, follow me. Alright, Ashley, wait here. No, Ashley, stay up here. With me. Oh my god, please don't. No problem. They're making me take her through the fucking maze.
You can no longer freeze her in place. Instead, you can only change the distance she follows you from.
Bro, how... Can you not run past? You're actually too slow.
You okay?
Yeah.
Because you have so much less control over her, and there always tends to be a gap of some kind between you, she naturally gets into more trouble.
Ashley, don't walk in front of the shotgun.
And too bad none of these. Hey, Ashley, get your ass over here. Oh god.
She artificially stuck to you like a magnet and could wait or hide away whenever you tell her to on a moment's notice.
All right, here's my opinion on this segment. I didn't like Ashley in terms of gameplay in the original or the remake. I don't like either of them. I don't like how they did the escorting with both of them. You know what I think? I think The Last of Us has superior companion AI. It is undebatable because you don't have to sit there and fucking babysit it. You just simply have to save it whenever a little prompt comes up and punch it. But the AI is ultimately more capable than RE4 ever was. I do not like the AI of RE4 OG or the remake. Now, yes, these people are making a bit of an argument where it's like, oh, she can stick more closer to you like glue. But you can still have situations where you shoot Ashley in the fucking head, or she gets into trouble, or something happens. In the remake, they do this system where she's close to you, or you do a thing of close but far, and she's still following you the entire time. In the original, I know it wasn't like that. I know it was a thing of you had this situation where you either told her to follow you and stay close, or you tell her to stay put, and once you go like a far distance, then she will follow you around. And then they have the whole thing with stuffing her in a locker or a trash bin, and the remake kind of has that with stuffing her in a locker somewhere so she can stay right out of trouble. And in both circumstances, I found it to be a situation where Ashley would get in the way, or I would shoot an enemy and then I end up shooting her, or they would drag her away because I'm busy with someone else. And I am not the biggest fan of this system whatsoever. I really just kind of don't like it. As far as all RE4 goes, it's just a thing of, I know people love parading around OG Ashley and things of that nature. I found her to be annoying in certain spots. Instantly getting killed in certain spots. Instantly getting me killed for trying to protect her. And I know that's all the love of the game.
Which is why whenever she gets hurt or...
But I find them to be both relatively annoying due to design. And that's how I feel.
Gets captured in the original game, it's mainly your fault for not positioning her correctly.
I also don't like that argument either. Oh, it's all your fault because she's somewhere, or the going gets tough and you try to clear out an enemy and he's swiping down on you and Ashley gets in the way and she takes the damage and then you gotta heal her. One thing I will give credit to the remake for is that they put her in this down state when she gets hit. The state is called incapacitated, and if you don't get Ashley up again and she takes another hit, she dies. I find this to be a little bit less annoying that it's not like the OG where she has her own health bar and she takes gradual damage, or she could die in a couple of shots after carrying her around and trying to make sure she stays out of harm's way. With the down mechanic, I just pick her up and boom, we're good to go. Let's get the fuck out of here already. And I appreciate that a little bit more, but I don't like the Ashley stuff at all, gameplay wise, for remake or OG. Just making that clear. I do not favor one over the other fully in general. There's a couple of quirks that I do like with the original. You can make her stay put in a place whenever you want and maybe move a little bit, advance a little bit and clear out the area. And then there's a perk in the remake where I feel you can go in, she can probably take a hit, you can pick her back up, and she has no health bar, and I don't have to worry about enhancing or increasing her health. I'm worried about my health with the fucking yellow herbs and shit, or the green herbs and shit, and I can keep that relative to myself, but both of them annoy me in gradual ways.
Ashley, get back in the fucking locker. Ashley!
Oh, she just jump scared immediately, and then she got sniped by the other player. That's fucking hilarious, alright?
Oh, fuck.
But yeah, all of this, oh, she's in my way. She gets in my way. I pull the trigger, she dies. That happens in the original too. I had times where Ashley got in my way, and I was shooting, and she got headshotted.
Ashley!
So in my experience, both are just fucking annoying at times. Last of Us has way, way better companion AI, in my personal opinion.
Amazing AI, dude. Woo! But I'm not even. I
Blip.
can't even shoot her. Hello.
Oh, that's funny.
Wait. What the fuck was that about?
Are they behind me?
You're always wondering, wait, is something behind me? Is something behind me? Is something behind me?
Check them behind me.
It's the way the camera system creates that effect. And what's also beautiful about it is the art direction of the castle complements that. It is brightly lit. It is beautiful. It is ornate. And yet, something's off. Something is wrong. But that wrongness is subtle and disturbing. So what did they do with the remake? They turned it into a generic horror show.
Blatant, like, fucking, like, oh yeah.
Oh god, Resident Evil has horror environments and people being slaughtered by rituals, sound hounds. Right? It's just like, okay, bro, what are we even talking about here? And that's not to even shit on the original aesthetic, which I think looks just as beautiful, in my opinion.
This is spooky.
Fog does not equal scary. I don't know what's up with modern remakes always have to add fog, and their fog is like overdone.
Instead, they just add shadows.
Okay, so you may have a point regarding horror remakes about the darkness side, because for darkness, you have Silent Hill 2 Remake, they add in a lot of dark, RE2 Remake, even areas in RE3 Remake, RE4, the list goes on there. But fog, the only foggy games I could think of is RE4 Remake, Silent Hill 2 Remake, and that's about it, unless you're talking about steam being projected in the environment, which is one area that RE2 Remake does when you go to the upper levels and the bathrooms and you have to go through the locker rooms and there's the steam pipe that is bursting out. But there's not a lot of fog in most of these modern horror remakes. There's more darkness than fog. I don't know where he got that from, and Silent Hill is, well, intrinsically foggy, so I would put that as, you know, it's just something you would expect from that game.
And smoke and red light and blood and writing on the wall.
Okay, there you go, like smoke. Like you'll see smoke effects or whatever, but I mean, we were just bringing up a point in the video with the fight with Mendez and how smoke obscures your vision, right? So it can be necessarily used to create atmosphere and tension in a boss fight, as you claim, Crowbcat. So why are you putting this clip here? I don't understand.
And oh, isn't that so scary?
Is Resident Evil 4 Remake scarier than the original?
Of course. Scares is subjective to the person. I always say this. What you're scared of does not make me scared. What I'm scared of does not make you scared. Some people can go through a game straight face. Some people will clench a little bit to a horror game. I never understand when people bring this up. The devs will obviously say these things, but to me personally, I don't really find the modern Resident Evil games scary. I like stuff like you know, Fatal Frame. I think Fatal Frame is scarier as a video game. I think Silent Hill is a bit more scarier. Fatal Frame is up there because I don't like paranormal ghost shit. But that stuff may not scare other people. Therefore, scares are subjective. Like, and there's some Resident Evil games that scare people. I don't mind the creepy atmosphere at all.
I think it's the opposite. In the original, Leon would make jokes only in cutscenes and comms calls. So all of the cheesiness was confined to intermittent cutscenes and comms calls.
Does Leon still say, and I quote, "I knew you'd be fine if you landed on your butt"?
In the remake,
we don't have him say anything like that. we don't want this man to be a full macho man pig. We're gonna skip out on that.
Scenes and comms calls are
That was a joke, by the way.
A lot more serious in tone. However, the remaining 95% of the game is punctuated by continuous quips and jokes from Leon while we were in the middle of combat.
Kill me for the repairs later. I am flattered. But I'm a one-lady type of guy. Sorry, you're not my type. Watch where you're swinging those things. Guess your tap dancing days are over. God damn, you're a big boy. You got worms too?
What? You got worms too?
Alright, so let me stop here. There's two things that I'm going to address with this point. One is the one about errors. You got worms too, and I guess it perplexes him and it doesn't make any sense, even though Leon has seen various Los Plagas enemies with worms in them the entire time before fighting El Gigante. So I guess, you know, in context that quote makes sense, but maybe he thought it wasn't funny. Whatever. My second point is I don't understand people saying that, oh, Leon's way too cheesy and he quips way too much in gameplay, when you guys say things like, oh, Resident Evil 4 Remake lost its soul because it's not cheesy enough. There's not any jokes. It's all a serious tone. And yet you have this guy making all these fucking jokes in the gameplay. That's why this doesn't make any sense to me, because if you say it's all serious, which it is taken a little bit more seriously than the original. But when you say things like all the cheese and everything has been cut out, all the humor is gone, that's only in certain aspects. But that's not paramount to Leon packing a one-liner and being a goofball through the entire time. So now he talks too much when he makes quips. Make it make sense to me, because it's not making any sense.
Food for you. Ah, the entertainment. I guess this is their idea of a warm welcome. Not bad, right? Hi there. You okay?
What can I say? Dogs like me.
Think you can swallow me whole, huh? You guys are really starting to become a giant pain in my ass. Wow, Ramon, you are really slacking on your pest control. That's your true power?
That's your true power? Oh, I asked for a refund. Like, not all these lines land, but for me at least, I still don't understand. Again, you guys say the soul is gone because there's not enough cheese, but this is all cheesy. Cheesy stuff, cheesy Leon. Macho Leon. What's the big deal here?
Oh, I'd ask for a refund. Present for you. Jesus. Cuddly bastard. Twisty son of a bitch.
My point is that these stupid voice lines undermine the atmosphere completely, and due to their frequency, make getting immersed in the horror practically impossible.
You're Ramon's lapdog.
Again, original Resident Evil 4 was about that tense environmental atmosphere, and you still had lines, whether they were in cutscenes or comms, you still had lines where, oh, your right hand comes off. Like, what? This is ridiculous. That's corny as fuck. And I love it, because it's paramount to Leon's character within these games, where he's gone from naive rookie to badass, cheesy one-liner machine. I still don't see the problem with this.
Frozen's a good look for you. Sorry, must have slipped. Eat this.
Now, does he quip a lot? Yes. But Leon was meant to be cheesy in RE4, and that's paramount to his character. As I said, one option they could introduce in the future is cuffing the characters in the menu. If you don't want to hear them quip and babble on, then maybe you have an optional choice to cut it off if you want to fully immerse yourself in the atmosphere. But no. Oh no, watch that option, because it's going to be a thing of, oh, they don't talk that much. That's not realistic to the situation. I don't know what's going on with people in this discussion and cuffing. The only thing I can recommend is options, solutions. And that would probably make everyone happy, or at least have like minimal talking wherever it counts and gameplay. I don't know. But me personally, I did not mind this whatsoever, and it still racked up the nerves because I was trying to fucking kill this thing and he was trying to approach and kill me, and I missed the frozen barrier control panel and he slashed me up real good. So yeah, that right hand kind of fucked me up.
Looks like it's gonna take more than that. So we're playing hide and seek, is that it?
Oh, there's a window. We can't go through the window? What the hell? But it's got tape on it.
I haven't seen any yellow marked barrels yet. Oh, is that yellow jizz or is that just hay?
For yellow jizz? What the fuck?
Game designers, affordance is a great way to communicate to the player what they can interact with or where they can go. It's not a single color that's important. It's using consistent color and shapes in the context of the environment.
Yeah, because people would get lost, and there are certain gamers out there. I guess you could equate this to maybe just a lack of paying attention with certain people, which is why they put these options in here. I'm gonna echo what I said during my yellow tape discussion. This is another thing that could be part of the accessibility options that would make everyone happy. It's not yellow tape smeared everywhere, or it makes a better constructive sense to the world, like in Resident Evil Requiem, where you have labeled yellow labels on barrels, right? Where it makes sense, like they shipped it in and they put in a yellow label and the player can distinctively see this, versus putting yellow paint all over the place. But once again, I could be blind as a bat. So I think it helps me in the long run for figuring things out and looking in the environment. I don't like being lost forever.
I get it. Cheer up, Crowbcat. You taking notes?
Nice DMC5 reference.
Instead, why don't we literally paint lines in the level that the players can follow, even though it looks absolutely absurd?
I don't know what research and data
I agree that it doesn't make narrative sense for people to just put yellow paint on every ladder everywhere.
they found from players.
One thing I like the most about Silent Hill 2 is that they have these white hospital strips and bandages that you can follow and find, and it makes more sense in the environment.
But clearly someone suggested to Capcom they need more guidance. They get upset when they get lost and frustrated, and then they have a tendency to not continue playing. And that's why Capcom has plastered this game with nothing but
the Stanley Parable Adventure Line. Just follow the line. How simple is that?
It should be an accessibility option. I've always said this, but I'm not that super triggered over yellow paint. I'm really not, because you can integrate it in ways. If I don't know where the fuck I'm going, I'm gonna look up a guide. That's how I feel. I don't know where the fuck, I don't know what is what. I'm looking up a guide immediately, ASAP. I have no shame. I'm trying to figure out where I need to go and what I need to do. I understand that this is part of the exploration of Resident Evil, but there's also a limit to my to my sort of frustrations with this whole shebang of exploring. Like, if I don't find something in a relative amount of time, I get annoyed. I feel like I'm wasting time now that I don't get it Therefore, I look it up or I figure out where to go.
Thanks for the yellow paint. Never would have thought to walk up here.
I've seen some dumb sections where it's like, why is the yellow paint there? Like, is the player that stupid?
Yeah, it doesn't need to be here on the handle. I'm pretty sure you could figure it out that you press this and you turn it and you open this panel of the game. But then again, some players do have a hard time figuring it out, really.
Fight them off. Okay.
We are aiming to create a Resident Evil 4 that everyone can enjoy, so please look forward to it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I sighed because games are meant for everyone, but if it's not specifically for me, then fuck you. No, that's just a joke. But still, like, I get why these things are here.
Why didn't you show the laser, bro? Why didn't you show the laser? Why didn't they show the laser?
How do you look at the original game and say, oh, let's change this to a generic crosshair?
I always felt a laser sight was a more immersive reticle than putting a white dot in the middle of the screen. You can unlock laser sights later, but you can only equip them to certain...
What are we complaining about then? You can unlock the laser sight either way, it's in the game. Why are people acting like it's not in the game?
You can unlock laser sights later, but you can only equip them to certain guns.
You only...
So I need to use it for every gun. Like, I get this one partially. I want to use it for the gun of my choice and have that freedom and flexibility. But it was one guy kind of just acted like he was crashing out. Oh, where's the laser sight? Is it not in the game? Is it in the game? Why are they not showing it? It's still in the game. And I like the Punisher. The Punisher is my favorite handgun. So I rock that 24/7. That shit this is nothing to me. If I want laser sight, I already rock it with a gun I like.
Fellas. That's it? That's it?
Hey, this doesn't fit on the Red 9.
So the guy that
But I don't mind more options. Therefore, more options is plentiful. Maybe they should have put the sights on the other guns, but it doesn't bug me. It's in the game. If I want to use a laser sight, I could pick on the Punisher and shoot the motherfuckers up.
Showed me the lasers in the game, lied to me.
It's all in there.
That won't cover it, I'm afraid.
You have to do side quests to unlock the fucking laser?
You have to do side quests to unlock the fucking laser?
I mean, it's a Ubisoft game.
Hey, why not go through that?
That's a crazy analogy. Oh, here we go. Let's rant about the side quests. I wonder, what did they have to say?
Why not go through that area again and kill 3 rats?
Killing 3 rats? Seriously, guys?
Kill 3 rats, sell 3 vipers, kill another 3 rats, shoot some more blue medallions.
And of course, the way it works...
Use some blue medallions, which was something you did in the original to get a new gun.
Like with all remakes, is that Capcom have taken the level design of Resident Evil 4 and stretched it out.
It's more open and explorable than before, but
this is something I also don't mind. Hey, new areas, new places to explore, new things to do. Yeah.
But even if you mainline it, it doesn't feel as tight.
It feels like I'm just doing errands around the lake.
I feel like there needs to be a little more sense of urgency when it comes to that.
What's your sit rep?
President's daughter, Baby Eagle.
What is this now?
I can kind of apply that critique to the original. Oh, it's an urgent situation. I have to rescue Ashley. Oh, wait, Leon was knocked out for 3 to 4 hours the entire time. And, yeah, that happened, right? So we're talking about urgency, and you can find a situation of urgency. Oh, if I want to just dick around and find these treasure boxes a little bit off the beaten path with how long it takes to get to the church itself, I mean, I could just do that. If I want to shoot this snake in this barrel and get this shit and just eat it, I could do that. Or hey, if I want to shoot these birds or fucking blow them up and sell things to the merchant and just dick around and waste my time, I can do that. It's points in here that are great, that make perfect sense. They are constructive criticism, but then it's just some points in this video that can be classified as senior nitpicking, or you could just do these things in the original. Like, you could do a little quest for the merchant in the original to get a gun or some shit like that. Of course, they expanded and they make you do more stuff, but this is all optional choice, by the way. And if you don't want to do it, if you don't want to hunt down rats, if you don't want to shoot blue medallions, if you don't want to kill certain dogs to get certain things, you don't have to do it if you don't want to. If you want that laser sight, though, just go ahead and do a few of them, or get like fucking 10 spindles. It's not really that hard. And you don't have to do it again if you want one specific item, and that's it. This just seems like a bunch of belly aching. Like, these people are on this path of saying, oh, you have to do it. No, you don't have to. It's just a side quest at the end of the day. Continue with the game, play it, and enjoy it.
Oh, dear lord.
The pacing in the original game is incredible. It's one of the highlights of that experience. You can't fuck with that.
Many of these areas seem to be gated off, but can be accessed by solving small puzzles.
That's just going to make the extension of this game, you know, padded garbage.
Shit. Oh wow, I have to solve puzzles in a Resident Evil game to progress. Kind of like I had to do a bit in the original with the church puzzle and the light puzzle and all these little doodads of discovering things. Oh, who would have thought of that?
I took my gear. Hey, am I tripping? Where's all my stuff?
Go find it. You can find it in literally like 3 minutes or less.
Pull the first switch.
I told you, some of this is just a bunch of belly aching bitching. I swear, like, look, no disrespect to Ares, but that man belly aches a lot.
Pull the second switch up top, drop down, go through the door, activate the next switch, go through the door, activate the next switch, go through the door, activate this switch.
Alright, that part, yeah, the sun puzzle thing was pretty long. It was long as fuck. This puzzle, I had a guide, so I was like, I'm not sitting there putzing with this. I figured it out in like a couple of seconds. That's how I treat some puzzles. I fuss around with it, and sometimes I will get it initially on random chance, or I'll read up on a file, or maybe I'll get lucky, or maybe I'll just get the solution after figuring it out. But other times I get impatient and I just want to get it through like really quickly, but I do have enough patience to try, and I think that's really important. I don't mind Resident Evil games having puzzles as long as it's not like RNG nonsense like the water puzzle is in RE3. It's cool that they change it a lot of the time, but since it's not a straight line of solving it each and every single time, you have to keep figuring it out, and you'll get stuck sometimes, or you'll solve it immediately, or there's times where you don't get it immediately.
I'm not gonna lie, this game is
I don't mind it.
dragging.
You have those forced in-game cutscenes and Leon starts moving really fucking slow, or you gotta squeeze through this thing, or you gotta like move that thing.
Oh god, the modern shimming. Yeah.
Like an RE2 remake.
This is not a load screen. You think this is a load screen?
You got it? Sorry. I'm counting on you.
One thing I will say about that is there's not a lot of putting a character on your shoulders in the original. You do that a couple of times though, like a few times. The part that's prominent to me in the OG is doing it to get the broken butterfly with Ashley in another area. That's cool. I enjoy that. I enjoy when you have a sequence like that where you put a character into a situation, they unlock something, and you get a cool key item for your troubles. That's like a very cool way to go about it. This is a constructive way to go about it, as opposed to saying, oh, for every area, I need this key character to climb up and open this door.
Can we just go?
It's open.
I owe you one.
Oh my god.
Oh no. Is this like a fucking section? It is. Forced. Walk in chat. Load screen. I love you, Ashley section. Damn it. You can't skip it?
Oh, there's a forest walking section, but I think this is valid for people who don't like those. But it does give you story, story. Sometimes, look, let me be honest to these ball and gun gamers at times. When a game slows down and they start to miss gameplay beats and context clues, we already had people that didn't even understand that Grace wasn't a clone in Requiem, and that Victor Gideon fucking went in there and influenced the connections. And you had to pay attention to, certain cues and monitors in the game to really, figure all that out. And that the connections that Gideon had ties in the government, and they sent Grace in due to that request alone. And you have people saying, oh, it's not in the game. That's because we live in an era where people refuse to pay less attention, and now whenever they don't, it's the game's fault. And that's the truth. Like, that's the unbridled truth that some people won't accept. I understand you don't like force walking. Hey man, that's totally understandable, but we do have times where they try to slow the game down for story context, and then the gamer will say he hates it, and then if they do heavy exposition in that segment, or they try to slow down and show you the emotion, and it's like, I wish I could skip this or whatever. And I wouldn't mind a skip option on repeat playthroughs. I think that's when it's valid, when you are replaying the game and you already seen the stuff before. You know what's going to happen already, versus the first playthrough where you're taking it all in. That is the perfect solution in my opinion, but there are people that will miss out completely on story details when they start doing this stuff, and I find it to be rather funny.
You're gonna take out the container boss and you're gonna put this shit in, dude?
That's not our policy. You have to order something from the lunch menu.
I don't want lunch. I want breakfast.
Yeah, well, hey.
If you want breakfast, hey, you want to fight Mr. U3, well, at least U3 is still... They just took him and they just repurposed it. And that's it. For Ada. So Ada has a lot more to do. But that original Separate Ways, I'm sorry, people. This is another hot take, but that original Separate Ways compared to the remake is garbage. Alright, that you can tell. Hats off to them trying, but you can tell that large segments of that, I would rather take a repurposed U3, lift it from the main campaign into the DLC, versus ever playing that boat segment on Separate Ways again. Which I'm glad is removed. And I'm not going to act like all removed content is good, because that boat segment in the original Separate Ways, where you're fighting multiple enemies on gun turrets and missiles, and you have to get colored keys in order to get out of the area, that part is stupid. And I'm glad it's not in that DLC anymore.
I'm really sorry.
It's one of my favorite parts of the entire game, having to rush through this small, cramped collection of cages while the clock is ticking.
This part was cool though, I'm not gonna lie. I do wish that it was done in the same vein, but I still think that the U3 fight was cool.
It was a fucking terrifying sequence, and that challenged your head a little bit, because you had to figure out where to go within that maze. And in addition to that, he was attacking, and in addition to that, you were on a timer.
Yeah, this is the scariest segment of this whole game. Just absolutely mind-blowingly scary.
So you had 3 things going at once, and that's why they cut it. It was too difficult.
I wouldn't say it was a thing of being too difficult. You know, it was probably just a thing of, hey, let's do something else, right? And I know people don't want to hear that. A creative saying they want to do something else, they act like they know better than the original developer. Like, this part is scary, it's intense, it's creepy, but then you start to think of, oh, well, fucking... Some people have said this before, where, oh, this thing fucking just comes out of nowhere from the wall, and you're instantly inside of the box, and you're just forced to fight him. The fight's cool, but it could have made more cohesive sense, really, in the grand scheme of things. So I'm not bothered that he was repurposed for Ada and they decided to do additional things. Let's talk about the things that the remake does right, where some of the writing for the characters is, you know, better realized, and Ashley has a lot better characterization than she did in the original, more emotional one as well. There's a reason why she's likable. There's a reason why Leon is likable. You know, they were already likable, but they're even more fleshed out in segments. Krauser is a bit more well done versus, well, they died in a plane crash 2 years ago. Is that what they told you? Or a helicopter crash or wherever, right? Where he just comes out of the blue. As opposed to, now he's Leon's mentor, so there's a bigger emotional connection there. Should this segment have been in the game, even in the DLC, repurposed just like this to keep up the intense scare factor, as opposed to putting big misaligned monster that goes to the laser room, which is still a kind of cool segment, I'm not going to lie, but I do miss this part. It's like I miss it, but I also am not going to, you know, get extremely mad at some of the faults and the pacing that the remake did as well. You know,
I'm thinking to myself, like, hey, did this part happen? And then it's like, it didn't happen. And I'm past it already. It seems like they've cut a lot out.
The stuff they've added doesn't begin to cover.
Dude, the Salazar statue is stupid. And you know, the funny thing is that part can have its own criticism, because not only is it a very dumb sequence, like, yes, they cut it out, but not only is it a very dumb sequence, but on Professional, they fuck with the QTEs to where it's faster, which is why you die quicker on the bridge if you're not mashing the shit out of the sprint button. So I never liked that part on Professional. When I found that out, I'm like, this is some cockamamie bullshit. Like, I don't mind that the statue is stationary and you can disable it from shooting the flames and you're done with it. It's more simplified. I can't think of really good things to say about futzing around with the levers around the statue and going down and activating the statue and having to do a quick time event of sprinting between falling pillars, which looks cool, but in passing, I would prefer more control of Leon and my character and having it be more straightforward.
Lost. You're creating a remake and it has less content than the original version that was almost 20 years old.
The rocket launcher guys, the rocket launcher room, which is once again another battle arena gauntlet. Louise killing Leon was a cool thing. Although that being said, I'm sure maybe some tedium would have got involved if he threw a grenade accidentally and Mr. Louise gets damaged. Like, some of these changes are done for the sake of convenience, because I would get frustrated if I threw a like grenade or something and Louise got damaged by it and then he turns around and kills me. Yeah, that would be kind of annoying. cool death scene,
The original
but annoying. Like, the only way I would like for this to come back is if he only takes damage by shooting him. And that's it.
version that was almost 20 years old.
This is what I mean, dude.
Cause I don't know. I don't remember. Like, doesn't he take splash damage?
All they do is fucking remove shit. Why? It's a fucking remake, dude. Are you remaking the game?
He wants segments with more dudes with rocket launchers, okay? So you want to make the game more annoying for itself.
Fucking remake,
I don't mind that being gone. I'm sorry. I don't mind that being gone.
dude. Are you remaking the game? Or fucking what?
What? Come on, man. No rope?
There's a bunch of shit that is removed, and it's a continued.
Yeah, remakes remove things. It happens. I understand. I understand that people get frustrated by this. And sometimes they remove good shit. Like, I would say here, marshalling yard, the zapping system, giant spiders. Well, we can stop there. Okay, because look, marshalling yard, yeah, I can see the complaints there. The zapping system, giant spiders. The moth was weak as piss. I don't understand why people like have an affinity towards this thing when you can kill it in like 5 to 3 hits. You would have to repurpose the entire fight and make it a lot more of a durable boss to make it entertaining and make it enjoyable and to just do something interesting with it. The Evo liquors are a product of the environment. I kind of 50-50 on them. They're really reskinned, recolored, stronger liquors, but I wouldn't have minded to see them again. But not a deal breaker for me. And crows in third person with over the shoulder while you're shooting them sounds like it would be a lot more annoying than a lock-on system with fixed camera tank controls. Now, granted, maybe you could say, oh, assisted mode, it wouldn't be a problem. It's still kind of, it just doesn't work if you're trying to get them out of the way and you're getting pecked and, oh, well, fuck, the camera's close to me. Pros are gone by necessity. I would rather have them replaced with something new entirely or something different.
Tradition here with these RE Engine remakes.
For some reason, I do not see nobody talking about cut content in this game.
I don't know why he said nobody. People have talked about cut content of the remakes to death. We've talked about them to death. And what works and what doesn't, because like I said, not every piece of cut content worked for the original. Like this, like, again, it's easy, low-hanging fruit, and I love the original, but that statue area sucked. In terms of mini Salazar chasing you, I just didn't like it. And I love the original to death. I think it's like fucking top 5 Resident Evil. And I didn't like it. That being cut, fine by me, that's cool. The dragon room, even that, fine by me, that's cool. It looked like a cool area, but at the end of the day, you just go in, or you snipe the other guy. You snipe the other guy on the side, and it's over, and you get the key item and leave. A cool volcano-looking place. Or the segment where you're jumping in between the flying pendulums, like Frogger. That's another one where it's just like, okay, I don't really miss it. I'm not really someone that's saying, oh, 10 out of 10 peak for jumping over this thing with a quick time event and watching a swinging pendulum go side to side. I just would prefer better pacing in those regards to get to more of the story.
Call out Resident Evil 3 Remake cut content and not call this game out for cut.
Okay, it's a lot here. Fucking hell. I agree with the incendiary grenade. Another Garrador fight, except you're closed in, That was to me. Let's see, what else do we got? Is that the crossbow Ganado? I don't like enemies with guns. I don't like enemies with guns. The calm calls I agree with. it's a missed opportunity, and it gives you more of a chance to converse with the villains, and you don't get more Osmond Saddler in the remake versus the original. The Britney Spears outfits and the cut outfit is whatever. Paper Airplane, that Ada kissed, I don't really care. I'm just going down the list. The ceiling segment where you have to escape Salazar, and then there's the binding rotators or whatever that will sort of kill you if you don't get out quickly. I only like one part of the segment, and that's the latter half versus shooting the ceilings. I like where the big giant rotator thing is trying to kill you. Leon choking Ada and being influenced by the Plaga. I do like this cutscene. It does show that he's turning into a danger and he needs to get Lost Plagas quicker. So you got that one. What is this? The spider drones, whatever? That was prevalent during the Krauser fight. You got the pendulums. I didn't give a fuck about that. The two paths, either fighting the Chainsaw Sisters or the Big Ganado. Yeah, that part was cool. This box segment where you shoot the boxes and then you get a path to go to under the waterfall and then you go through a cave. I don't care. I don't care. Shooting Ashley from her confines, don't care. I don't think it added anything, super pertinent other than you get a cutscene where you get this cutscene where she escapes. After you release her, the Ganado with the Gatling guns, no. What is this? The Plaga removal laser gun? I wish that was back. That's one that I wish was back in the game. Assignment Ada, I didn't really care for. It's a nice little mini game you get, but you're just collecting a couple of samples, and you fight Krauser at the end with Ada, and that's it. It's over. It's done. It's a done deal. You can beat that in like 10 to 15 minutes or less. What else do we got? This area with the bear traps and extra chainsaw ganado, which is right up here. It's just another filler segment where you're fighting and you can push the ladders from the room up here. The cutscene where Leon throws his knife into Salazar's hand and you get the quick time event where the right hand or whatever hand there is now fucking throws it back and Leon can either get impaled or he'll dodge the attack in canon, which he does. That part was cool. This is Waterworld. Waterworld was a map in the original RE4 Mercenaries where you would see the Super Salvadors with the chainsaw, the big chainsaw, and they'll cut your head off immediately and they're super fast. They repurposed it and they turned it into docks. And I agree, docks is the last level but repurposed. But Waterworld, in terms of where they get locations from the game, it never really made any sense because where the fuck is this place? It's just a random place they built that's nowhere in the game whatsoever in terms of an environment. It's just a random map. So that one, yeah, I could put some logistics behind that. This is the place where you see the Ganados like praying, and I think you have to get a key item. And they're around like a campfire or something, and that was an area where it's like, okay, filler fight. Shooting the truck driver, that part was cool. So out of these, I have areas in the game where I wished was back. The same goes for throwing the Ganado in the dumpster or whatever. It was just silly. It's just silly and stupid. Like, I can see why people like this segment, but I don't like gun enemies. The U3 original section was great. There's Parsities I liked, and Parsities I could do without, personally. And I listed most of them off.
Content. Can't help you. I can't help you.
You can't talk to him? What?
Like, if you want to talk about unrealistic, like the Salazar statue and how stupid that played out in the original, that doesn't make sense, right? And then you have this massive roller coaster underground. It is so unrealistic, it's not even fun. Like, it actually just takes you out of the experience because it's like they want to try this grounded approach.
Which feels like an anticlimax. Increasingly a scripted, Uncharted-style Sony set piece rather than an engaging death trap that you have to use real ammo and reflexes to ward off with a horde of chainsaws.
Oh
and
yeah,
Donatos
this segment. I
dropping
remember this
directly
segment.
into
I
your
had no
cart.
problem with this. I don't mind both. Both is fine to me. Like the roller coaster ride that you're on and shit like that. I just mainly hate the statue segment. It is stupid. It's dumb. Like, but a large majority of Resident Evil 4 is filled to the brim with stupidity. But that was just, it's not only dumb, but it's tedious and stupid at the same time. And they fuck with your QuickTime events in professional. I just don't like it. And then you got to do a bunch of futzing around before you actually activate the statue. And there's that boring tedium in the middle of all that. Like I said, I love both games. I'm critiquing both. Like, this is the perfect solution for me.
When they
but that part was cool with the original ride and the mine carts, and then you have to make that last harrowing jump. Yeah.
approached Capcom to release the original trilogy on PC, Capcom literally met them with, why would you want the old games when we have the superior remakes? And I'm just like, huh?
Well, now you can play the original 3 games on Steam as well. But it's going to have that Enigma protection. Just go to GOG and play it on GOG or play it on PSN. And you could relive and enjoy that experience. If you really, 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 really love the original, same for RE4, you can get it anywhere. It's widely available. That's why that quote did not offend me whatsoever.
They didn't do the Resident Evil 4.
That's why I cut on the deluxe edition sound where it says that Resident Evil 4. And
Can we please stop hiding the classic Resident Evil title call behind the OG soundtrack swap?
so that's I do miss the OG like title call, but since I'm a hardcore Resident Evil fan and I get the deluxe edition anyway and I just get it automatically, I'm not really bothered. Because I automatically have it. So it's just like you might say something like, "Oh, he wants all of this to not be free or whatever." No, that's not the point. I believe that it shouldn't be DLC, but I automatically just get the deluxe edition anyway because that's the stuff that I want. I do think it's a practice that shouldn't go on, but then again, it's only $3. I wipe my ass with $3. That's just how I feel, right? But I've never played it on modern soundtracks, so I can't even tell you if they're superior or not. I guess what they try to go with is a minimalist sound where they try to go for, oh, you just do a bunch of bits and bobs in the menu. There's no title card. They just go for a grounded approach. Which I can see people not liking, of course. But I play with this shit on, so I'm good. That's how I treat it.
Extra. It's all in there.
A little while after the game was released, new DLC was added into the game in the form of purchasable, exclusive upgrade tickets for your weapons in the shop.
You could do that for many Resident Evil games with these newer entries where you have optional DLC that will give you unlock all contents, infinite rocket launchers, infinite ammo. And I had a conversation with someone who said, hey, I work all the time. I don't have the time to go through and get infinite ammo and get all these unlockables. I want to get them now, and that's for those people. I've heard it be called lazy, And it's I like to put it in a more constructive way. It's different strokes for different folks. If you get these cards, I'm not gonna look down on your gamer skill or shit on you or anything like that. You know, if you get these tickets, if you get this unlock all DLC transaction, you know, do whatever you want. It's your money. As long as you're not forced to get these optional microtransactions, as long as Capcom doesn't force you to get this shit and you don't have to. I agree, the soundtrack stuff should be a free unlock in the game, but if Capcom doesn't force you to get tickets and other doodads like that or infinite ammo, if you can unlock it yourself and go through the trials and tribulations, then go do it. Go play on professional, go do your S ranks, and you will be rewarded handsomely by doing that. Or if you want the hand cannon early, go play Mercenaries and try to get 5 stars with all the characters and do it on all maps. And you know, there you go. You have your incentive to unlock this stuff. If it's still unlockable, there's no issue. You can still show your merit and skill by getting it. And if other people want to buy the micros and they want to skip ahead a little bit, then it's all whatever.
A ticket, do ya? Nice.
All the decent attache cases that are actually worth jack shit are locked behind the deluxe edition DLC that I didn't buy.
Unlocks additional treasures that cannot be found with the various treasure maps obtainable in the game. Yo, that seems a little
OP.
Yeah.
Pay to win.
It does point them out to you, but it
pay the win.
also just creates new ones that didn't exist before that. That's the pay to win treasure. This one right here. Sapphire, boom, that's an extra 4K that I wouldn't normally have. Like, that's so lame.
The Mercenaries.
Yeah, if you are just someone who doesn't have the DLC at this point, then it could be a bother to you, clearly, especially if you want to use this money to get quicker upgrades and things of that nature. That part I can understand, but as I said, I get deluxe. It's not a problem because I own the stuff. I know it's gonna say, "Oh, you're paying $70 for RE4. You paid $70 for RE4." Yeah, it did. It was just a thing that I did.
Mode. A staple of the Resident Evil franchise was also.
Should it be free to those people? Oh, of course, absolutely. But you know, getting the tickets, getting the unlocks, and the rest of the other stuff, as long as it's still there. And you can still do it, and you can get over the hump, which I believe you can. Like multiple playthroughs, you know, do all that shit. I know people are gonna say it's a grind, and yeah, you would be right in that regard. It is indeed gonna be a grind for certain treasures and whatever, and replays and all that other shit. But if you can unlock everything naturally, get tickets naturally, do your thing, get in and out, and it's like I didn't pay like a single red cent for this whatsoever, then it's fine personally. As long as those unlocks are still in the game. I'm not talking about the treasures themselves, I'm talking about like everything else that people were complaining about, like the tickets.
Also not included in the game at launch. We had to wait later for an update. When it finally did come out, it was unfinished, as Ada and Wesker were nowhere to be found, and there was one less stage.
Waterworld was a
fucking Mercenaries is complete now. So there's like no real complaints there whatsoever. Yes, at launch you didn't get Mercenaries, that sucked, but later we got it, and then we got Ada and Wesker as characters. That's not a big deal to me whatsoever. And you also get an additional character that you never had in the original, which is Luis. So you have another bonus character, and the only thing they did with Waterworks is they repurposed docks into another 4th additional map. Of course, it's not in the game, but like I said, I never really found any narrative sense to this level whatsoever. It's not even pulled from the game. It's cool, but it doesn't mean that I'm not enjoying the gameplay of Mercenaries. I'm not enjoying the Mayhem mode, which is also a nice little addition to do these bonus attacks to some of the bosses and have a secondary chance for survival. And it's cool that they have multiple mayhem modes that utilize each character's strength and weaknesses together. Mercenaries is fucking fun in this game. It's very cool, and I don't deter anyone from giving it a shot, and it doesn't deter my enjoyment overall with how ultimately it was coordinated in the end. I believe that they need to put some co-op in RE5 Mercenaries Remake stats so we can spend countless hours just fucking playing that shit like no tomorrow. It's a very fun gameplay loop when going through Mercenaries and RE4 Remake.
Huge and elaborate stage, but the docks is just a small square. And this stage is also ripped from the story where Leon has his final battle with Sadler.
So much.
Yeah, at least it's from a place that was taken from the game.
For no.
I know Waterworld was unique, but where is it from? It's just a random map that's in the middle of the fucking ocean that looks like it belongs in RE5. I'm not crapping on Waterworld. I'm just simply saying that I understand they took an asset that was already in the game and morphed it into a level. Would Waterworld be cool if they repurposed it and made it anew in the RE engine? Of course. But I it's like crying over spilt milk. We have very, very good gameplay. We have good stages in RE4 Mercenaries. It's fun. I'm not complaining.
My favorite thing in this whole fucking game is those bald dudes in the castle that like kidnap Ashley and go like
oh, those dudes, yeah.
They took those guys out, dude.
That's a part of the mood, the vibe, the atmosphere. You never not hear the fucking voices.
I don't care less about the casual fucking villagers. Oh my god. Oh god. Man, just and those Castellinian zealots are still there. They just don't laugh.
Notice that there's no interaction or any talk between the villagers.
Okay. Yeah, just like okay.
You gotta be kidding me. There's no vibe here. There's no atmosphere. You're getting nothing except gibberish now.
A big part of the
villagers like ranting. I remember them swearing in Spanish, which was a cool little perk in the original, and them saying a bunch of shit. They talk though. People act like they don't talk at all in this video. They do talk within, and you can hear them. It's just, again, you're gonna remember what was memorable with certain lines, and when you don't hear that exact specific line, if you're a very, very big hardcore enthusiast of the original, then you're gonna be like shell-shocked by it.
That game's charm is what the enemies say. The voice lines.
Yeah, but if they said the same things, then some people were kind of like, oh, it would just be a cheap, pale imitation of the original lines all over again, you know? It is cool additions that they made to the Spanish, where Leon decides to learn Spanish, because I never really understood why he goes into a foreign village and he doesn't know the basic dialect.
Who are these people? What are they planning? Chainsaw.
But I don't disagree that those lines aren't memorable whatsoever. I'm sure when people boot up this game, that's the first thing they will remember off the top of their heads. But just saying, for people that think the villagers don't speak is crazy to me. It's just not the same lines that you remember.
Shit.
That's the one I missed. Te voy a matar.
This game is so sick, dude.
Leon?
Just stay close.
Yeah, why don't you put in the glorious Las Plagas part? Where is that guy at? You say it's not memorable, where Gloria Las Plagas. Glorious Las Plagas. And then all of them, when he's screaming in the remake, all of them, they have their heads burst, you know? Instead, he just sort of cherry-picked this scene where nobody's saying anything versus the scenes where they're actually talking. That's kind of disingenuous, to be honest. I gotta call that out. I love the original and I love the remake, but why not put the scenes of the zealot guy chanting again? Yeah,
entire section, it's still there. They still have the same quotes, but it seemed less energetic.
Oh, well, he had a line on forastero again. That's a line that they said in the original. I'm just saying. I know people are going to be like, oh, God, he's nitpicking with a nitpick. But again, that was in the original game, and the line said it right there. And the way Crowbcat is framing this, where it's like, oh, they took out a lot of the lines and stuff. They don't say things that they used to anymore. That was one, right? The Voy a Matar, that one as well, right? The stuff that people remember. And you have these sporadic clips of people saying, oh, it's all gone now, and there's no aura now, and it's all silence now, when it doesn't even make sense to the further clips presented where you hear villagers saying some of this shit.
Where's the energy in the performances? I mean, they're shouting in the original.
¡Un forastero! ¡Ahí está! ¡Agárrenlo!
So because they're shouting is not the same, you know, they do have more energy, yes, but the lines are there. It's similar to people believing that Krauser wasn't going to be in the game, or the line, where is everyone going? Bingo. They thought that was going to be excluded for some reason, which I know it's there. Both of those things specifically are there.
Ahí está. Mátalo. Ahí están. Matadlo.
You're not getting the delivery on these performances anymore.
Welcome, stranger. Obey. Obey the voice of our Lord. The blood has accepted the gift.
These characters sound like a parody of their former self.
The graveliness of it sounds like a put-on, like someone doing an impression.
Long time no see, rookie.
I do like the original Krauser's voice a lot more than Remake Krauser, but I prefer the story of Remake Krauser a lot more than the original. So there's a ace of spades. There's a trade-off there.
The game. It is me, Triple H. I'm here to fuck you up. Oh, rookie. Rookie.
I don't think she does that bad of a job. I mean, she doesn't do that bad of a job. She's cool.
Don't worry, Leon. First time free.
She sounds awful, dude.
Don't keep me
Lily Gao as Ada. The big point of contention for the voice acting. I will say, in the DLC, I thought she was much better. People give this woman shit, and people were also harassing her as well, so it's a fucking video game, for the love of Christ, bro. We're resorting to smear campaigns and people's DMs and shit because they voiced the character, and you just could not be mature enough to give a constructive response about it. Like that sort of stuff that happened, it was once again a black eye, a dark stain, a black cloud on the RE community, because it just reminded me of that Star Wars fandom menace crap where folks could not just simply go about their business and separate art from the artist. Like, the harassment of Lily Gao is again up there with Last of Us Part 2 levels of people going in DMs and saying crude shit to people and just not understanding that it's okay for you to criticize the game itself constructively, but it's not okay to just simply go after these human people and not realize that they're just doing a job. Like, holy fuck. That is unhinged levels of deranged to me. And my stance on this part sticks. I don't think that Lily was the worst thing in the world to me. So if you are a Lily hater and you're on this video, I guess you're going to be a little bit disappointed because I don't feel the same. I do believe that she did get better with the DLC. I like her interactions with Wesker. They were kind of cool. As for the main game, it was kind of whatever. It was like parts where it sings properly, where she's interacting with Leon. It's like, ooh, smooth. That part was cool. And then it's the radio conversations that feel like it could have been a little bit more energetic.
Wow.
Pull yourself together, Luis.
Her voice.
Make more. You know how, just do it.
I don't know what they were thinking.
Sometimes some actors totally like fuck up their auditions, but if I feel the vibe is right and I can work with them, I'll go for that one rather than someone who did a perfect read, but I can feel like he's an asshole or she's an asshole.
Capcom keeps going the cheapest route possible for the English voiceover, and you might be.
Shit, that shit is money, dog. This is another one that I kind of just was like, all right, I see why they went non-union. I mean, you think Troy Baker is someone that isn't going to be unionized? You got another thing coming. It just, again, false effective measures. It happens.
Wondering, well, how do you
Capcom has been doing this for a while, as you can plainly see.
know this? It's because the old voice actress of Claire Redfield, Allison Court, she actually did an interview with a YouTube channel called Residents of Evil, where she talked about this whole process.
Were you already in the union back there? And when did the union come about?
I was union. I've always been union.
You always, so, since the very beginning.
So all of these fans who are like, well, it was your fault for joining a union and demanding more money. It's like, guys, get a grip.
Mr. Kennedy, Mr. Kennedy. This George Washington looking fuck is not cool. He doesn't give me this fucking awesome vibe like in the original where he was like, you know, he has that little laugh before you meet him and it marinates.
Leon doesn't even meet Sadler until near the end of the game.
I always thought, I agree with the latter part. I wish Leon and Sadler had more interactions. Just beating the same point again. But Salazar, on the other hand, and him being like weird and having that stupid nasally voice, I always found Salazar to be annoying. Oh, so that goes across the board for both, and I kind of enjoy it a little bit better when Leon is tired of hearing this dude talk and he shoots him in the head as opposed to entertaining him. But I did like the sequence where Leon is falling in the hole in the original, and then he shoots the bell, and he annoys Salazar. So I wish that annoyance was in the remake, but I like the forwardness of what Nick Apostolides brought to the table in terms of altering things and saying, you know what, how about he just goes in there and shoots him as opposed to hearing him do this villain monologue. And I thought that was the better solution in terms of not only highlighting Leon's characterization of being tired of this shit, but just going in there and just clapping a ball, shooting him in the head, and he transforms and shit. I just thought it was a cooler premise, and the boss fight is better done in the remake than the original, because in the original it's just not as entertaining in my personal opinion, and it's very, 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 like you said, in the corner. This is talking about like without exploits, without the rocket launchers or the golden eggs. You're just fighting them straight on, and you have these little mini parasites chasing you. You gotta deal with them. It's a little bit tedious.
and he only meets with Salazar 3 times before the boss fight with him. This causes Leon, Salazar, and Sadler all to suffer as characters because Leon isn't in communications with them throughout the game.
When he's beat,
I missed the comms. I will give the original that.
I almost thought that something was missing.
And that's the entire game. Like, these villains don't feel like villains and shit.
Your face severe.
I don't agree with that. They definitely still feel like villains. Leon's getting pummeled. He's infected.
Here consequences.
I have.
He says that he doesn't warn him. It's like, oh, your blood is with us. It's still the same cut of the jib.
Severe consequences.
You are one of us. You know?
I have absolute control.
In the original.
Oh, the thing with Salazar saying, "Oh, but I am 20 years old," even though he looks like an old fucking man. Yeah. That was a lore context as well.
The original, whenever
So
he
I
had
agree with that one. That should have been implemented.
a monologue, I was like, dude, I love this guy so much, but I can't wait to kill him type of thing.
The Los Illuminados jack Leon's comms, and throughout the game, taunt him, make life generally difficult for him, and inject much-needed character moments into the game and expand on all 3 of these characters further.
Oh, Roots, you're breaking up. Is Salazar about to hijack it? Damn it. So much for that. Maybe just jamming it. Okay, no hijack yet.
I'm surprised he didn't do it.
Is 50 seconds of Salazar talking through the castle's intercom, and that's it.
Well, it is there in a way, kinda. He is talking. I just much prefer this boss over OG.
It reminds me of RE8 again. I'm sure you're getting tired of RE8, but it's true.
That's a dumb comparison. I'm sorry. Fucking Moreau as a functional boss shooting out, you know, all of the acid fucking balls and shit, and the environmental AoE that he does. It's not technically the same fight. The blast that could hurt you in Resident Evil Village versus this one where he just fucking dies. There is differences. It's differences.
Remake with bosses was the lack of seeing the boss transformations. Something that add to that shit just got real factor gets stripped away.
It just cuts into a cutscene and then you just see the reveal. Even though in the original you can see the transformation.
The problem is in a remake is that every transformation is hidden from the player or shown way too close or cut up in the screen so you can't see it. In the original, you will see the transformations and it has a horror feeling into it.
Sadler getting the bullets out of
Oh, I like the body transformations in the original, so yeah, that's a point for the original.
him in Resident Evil 4 OG actually presented with a bit more intimidation.
But I'm gonna reiterate this for the record, like, most of these are not, they're still not super deal breakers to me. Like, the only one that they said so far that was a deal breaker was them not putting in the communications for Salazar, where he says, you know, they're on comms, they're doing story stuff, they're fucking just talking shit to each other. I thought that was cool, as well as Salazar saying he's like 20 years old when he's an old fucking man.
As there is a sense of dread instilled by not knowing what he was doing.
Like,
There is
transformations, it's cool in the original, but it's not a deal breaker. You're still fighting big ass BOW monsters in differing ways, and if you ask me, I prefer some of the fights in the remake to the original, especially Salazar, especially Sadler.
nothing like
I think Sadler was a lot more fun to fight in certain areas, whereas, you know, and then he brings the enemies out and it makes it a little bit more difficult in the process. But the end segment of RE4 OG was cool with the girders that will fall and you're running over them and Leon will like fall and grab on a ledge or something and fucking Saddler will throw steel girders at you. You can do backflips over them. So it's a lot of spectacle as well that I really appreciate with that game.
Like that here.
The cinematography alone in the original game is just like light years ahead of this game, but no one cares. No one cares about where the camera's placed. No one cares about the performances. No one cares about anything.
We spent a lot of time and effort in making the
Unless it's a 1-for-1 remake, the cinematography is not going to be the same. You can talk about it, but that's just sort of to be expected.
total finished product, especially the cutscenes where new enemies are introduced, and that really comes out in the camera work.
El Gigante.
No. He just comes out of the door? Where's the build-up?
And I'm not saying this is literal shit, but it's certainly, in my opinion, is not a fucking 10 out of 10.
That night came the honeymoon.
Resident Evil 4 Remake is one of the best games I've played in my life.
Capcom has made essentially a perfect video game. I think it's one of the best games ever.
Resident Evil 4 Remake might be the best video game remake ever made.
I think this is just how you perfect a remake. This is how you remake a game.
This may very well be one of the best games Capcom has ever made.
It might very well be the most perfect horror action game I ever played.
Oh no. People think differently. Call the hounds.
Resident Evil 4 Remake is a new bar, delivering not only a fantastic remake, but one of the best survival horror games ever, one of the best third-person action games ever, and one of the best video games ever, full stop.
This is the third highest Resident Evil score of all time. This right now is a 93 based off 90 critic reviews.
Capcom gets a lot of praise for their remakes, but still not enough.
This remake, I think, is 20 times better than the original. It's 100 times better. I'll never touch the original again.
This game is dang near.
I love both. So that's where I sit in the spectrum of opinions. I know apparently now there's this giant war where if you don't like the original, then fuck you. If you don't like the remake, then fuck you. But I sit in the paradigm of I think both of them are fantastic and fine games.
They're perfect.
Rebuilt, refined, and realized to the full
And if other people think it's a masterpiece, that's fine. If
limits of its enormous potential.
Final score, 10 out of 10.
Other people might say it's a 1 out of 10 or a 2 out of 10, but you know, that's the nature of people on the internet.
They remade a game and they fucking honored it.
It is one of the better remakes. It is. You know? People can make videos on it rehashing the subject, but it is even well after the honeymoon phase. That's why it shoots up to the top of people's list, because they had an enjoyable experience with it. That's all it is.
They took RE4, they respected everything about it, and it's just as good or better in my opinion. And yeah, the soul versus soulless can eat my ass out with a spoon. How about them apples?
Oh, that's the video that you changed the title to, huh?
I knew something was off when I watched this video.
And he did turn down the ambient sound. He did factually do that.
Oh, he put in that accusation that he was accused of.
Turn the volume up, pendejo. Should I do that in-game? Audio. Oh, it's already maximum. All right, I agree with you. So I'm going to turn it up.
Crowbcat's buddy, old pal, old friend, old buddy. You know, people have differing sound systems, right? Whether it's default or surround sound. Like, my TV is loud as fuck. With my surround sound, I get all the ambience. I got a big subwoofer on the bottom of my floor. Every gunshot, every crunch, every suplex, I'm feeling that shit with my home theater entertainment system and my sound bar. I don't think that I should cut Resident Evil 4 all the way to maximum, otherwise I'm gonna blow up my house. Therefore, this one is very, very, very subjective. And it varies from person to person. It really does. But I can tell you now, my surround sound and the game itself and the ambience, it eats the floor with it. Perhaps upgrade your system or whatever. I don't know what to tell you. Like, get that shit upgraded ASAP.
I mean, it's already. I'll just put it on 100.
How far could he have gone?
Give me also 1 second. I'm gonna pause. I want to turn up the audio slightly. It feels. Oh, I can't.
You should just boost, just put the master volume at the highest right now, because people are still saying it's a little quiet, but it got better. It When is. we increased It's all the way. Oh, it's already. Oh, okay, great.
Yeah, if I cut my shit up, people will die. They would die on live stream. I'm telling you, like, I don't know. I would say people have probably differing systems and all that other stuff and sound adjustments, but I could not turn my shit all the way up, otherwise people would get killed by it. So, this is a sort of, I'm gonna say it's a nothing burger complaint in regards to me, but other people may differ. That's the best way to put it.
There's sound effects. So, okay. Yeah, you could put everything up, I guess.
If game volume needs to be turned up, let me know. It might be a little low compared to Fatal Frame. Let me look in the game menu, actually. That may be better. Is everything jacked? Yeah.
Everything jacked.
Is the game audio low? Game audio's low? Is it? I saw one person write it, so I want to see if the rest of the chat.
We've been adjusting it. What about the audio? Some people are saying it sounds good. Some people are saying it's low. Slightly low.
Volume's a little low. Well, it's all the way up.
How's the volume? I feel like the game's a little quiet.
Audio's kind of quiet.
Let's go to audio. Okay, game volume too low. Got it.
It's a bit quiet. Game's a little low. Make it a little louder.
I upped the game volume by 5 decibels. Let me know if I need to do more.
The game audio is maxed out. I can't turn it up any higher. I could check in game. Yeah, let me see if I can raise up the volume. Audio, nope.
Alright, this point is beaten. This is beaten like a dead horse. We get it. I don't have this problem, so skip. Skip. Oh, is this people just shitting on the video? The yellow paint community. What?
Worsening the gaming culture.
He changed the title of the video. He has no integrity.
I mean, you did change the title of the video. I would suspect if you're standing on business, you keep that shit the same, right? But instead, you had to do a little layup when that video was getting massacred. Thus, it's a masterpiece. No, everything's fine, guys. Everything's all positive. I have nothing nuanced to say about this topic whatsoever. I'm just going to throw out these little comparison pieces and let that be the end of it. Oh, what? I'm getting jumped? Fellas, I'm getting jumped? Well, let me try again months later, after the honeymoon phase has ended, and hopefully this one lands. But you did change the title, bro. Thank you. What you did? I want to see if he explains his reasoning of that.
Pointed in Crowbcat. He could have gone after the other shitty buggy games everyone else already covered, but he instead dared to cover the pinkiest pink that is Resident Evil 4 Remake. Unison.
God. I mean, you can cover it, but damn. It doesn't mean that people will like it. It just doesn't mean that people will be well receptive to every video. That's kind of what you have to face as a content creator, is that, you know, people will agree, people will disagree, and you move on.
You are just the most unlike.
I don't think he's like I don't think he's Satan or whatever. I just thought the video was funny, and him changing the title was funny.
Angry old man I've ever seen. You're sitting here daydreaming about your old ass PS2 game while being angry about something that's almost universally loved.
A lot of people really like remakes, not because they're that interested in the artistic discussion of it all, but because it becomes a social event, a social experience.
It really does feel like people really are putting Capcom specifically on a pedestal, right? They really are pretending these Resident Evil remakes are some of the best games ever made.
And, you know, the truth of the matter is that a lot of people haven't played the original. I mean, unless you're a boomer. That's just...
Unless you're a boomer. I must be boomer as shit. I mean, I'm old, but I play the original and the remake. I do have both experiences under my belt.
The reality of the situation. Most people haven't played the original, and they're not going to go back to it.
I haven't played the original.
I never played the original. I didn't play the original.
I never played the original.
I didn't play the original. I didn't play the original.
It's that.
Yeah, you're gonna have people who don't play the original. You're gonna have people who don't play the remakes. I mean, people will come into a franchise at any point in time, and those new fans will once again funnel new projects, and those new projects you can play in a couple of days, Pragmata, and see how that turns out. Yeah.
It's time to lower this one 6 feet under and say, well, it is what it is.
From now on,
That's
when
true.
I say
it is what it is. As long as you have the options to go back and play the original RE4, and if you want to play the remake, you can choose and decide with your own free will and drown in your dreams of bliss. You can do that at any point in time. No one is taking that away from you.
Resident Evil 4, now I have to say Resident Evil 4, the original, released on the GameCube.
That's for every fucking remake, though, in history. We even have shit like that happens in fucking movies, you know, and what's prominent. You know, a remake of a remake. We had that long before in media. I think what I hate the most is when they reboot something and they call it the exact same thing. Like, that's something I can't stand. God of War 2018 should have been something else versus you know, what they did with it. It should have been a subtitle. That's where I get annoyed. But if you're remaking a game, yeah, dude.
It was cool.
It's what is to be expected. They called Resident Evil 1 Remake Resident Evil, and that was it. And that was long in the past, all right? It's just what they do.
But forgettable.
Game of the year.
And the winner is...
Oh, I know what this is gonna be. So he's going to show the Video Game Wars where RE4 wins, and then he's gonna show the one for RE4 Remake where something else won.
Resident Evil 4.
Accepting on behalf of Resident Evil 4 is producer Hiroyuki Kobayashi.
That's what we live for. We have.
It's like, that's cool. You know, the game deserves its flowers. The original RE4 deserves it. And the remake is also a great game that enhances, expands, it's fun, and it also equally deserves its flowers. My name is Renegade Operative. I am signing out. That is my reaction to Soul vs. Soulless Part 2. What do you guys think in the comment section below? This video has been long as fuck. This is a whole Marvel movie. This is Avengers Endgame of Resident Evil. Tell me what you think. I said my piece. I said where I land, and there's no retracting it. There's no taking it back. There's some various comments that I want to read that I actually think is funny, and then we'll close out the video. I guess this is the only comment I want to bring up. A remake cannot possibly replace or disrespect the original when the original is available on all modern platforms. I don't know why people get so mad over it. And this guy said, but the remake is the first result on Google is one of the dumbest complaints ever. on Twitter, because, you know, Twitter is where we see this bozo shit in the first place, and solvable in 4 characters. All you gotta say is Resident Evil 4 OG, and you can easily find what you're searching for. Get a grip. And yeah, I think we have, and look, I'm sorry, I have to say it, I've tried to be, you know, civil through most of this recording, but I have to say it, I just think that we're in this era now where people go schizo over a remake. And in this specific situation where you can find the original RE4 and the remake and play at your leisure whenever you want, um you know, the freedom of choice cannot be more simple these days. And I feel like people just, when they get this much of a purist mindset, they just leave out some of the stuff that makes the game good, or they won't call out the faults and the shortcomings. You know, the very, very light script of Resident Evil 4 OG, where there's some imperfections there as well, and how they instantly dissolved Umbrella immediately within that plot, and how people just didn't like that. Therefore, they had to go and make Umbrella Chronicles the way that it was to fill in that gap. There was people also complaining about that game as well. You hear some complaints saying this is where the franchise had its downfall, because this is when they went the full action route. But me personally, I never had that opinion. I thought that changing it up with the formula was well much needed at this rate. It felt like a soft reboot into chaos with the original Resident Evil 4, and just what they were introducing, how systematic that game was, and how the blueprint of that led to a very solid remake is undeniable. And I gotta thank Shinji Mikami, I gotta thank Ampo, I have to thank those guys for, you know, letting me breathe in this world just a little bit more, and letting me experience this, and letting other people that are new, who got into the series for the first time, or they grew up with RE4 and they just loved it, you know, I do believe a lot of us gamers, we're on the same side, even if some of the things that people say is a bit ridiculous. And there is some unity at times, and there is some agreement at times, and times where it's not, but that's fine. All I know is that I'm very happy that I got to witness and play these games, and I hope that Capcom does take that initiative of, you know, keeping what works, and if something just doesn't work, try to get around it or replace it, or maybe cut it out for something that's a more riveting segment, right? And we've seen them do this before. But overall, yeah, and there's another thing too that crossed my mind recently, and I'm gonna put it on screen, and it's just an assumption. It might be an accusation, but there's something weird here. The fact that this Michael Does Life guy, is sort of just saying these things like, "Oh, don't buy it, don't do this, just don't," and then you have Crowbcat, who likes to thank Michael Does Life a lot, and then I saw there was a screenshot for you guys. Crowbcat had Michael Does Life in his bio at one point, then he removed it. Are these two guys the same? I don't know. Have you ever got that assumption where these two are the same? And Michael Does Life, I think, immediately did a watch party of this. Like, imagine he's doubling down on the reaction where he makes a video. It has, like, just a bunch of out of context clips. And then on his other channel, he uses his mic and talks about it and makes a big expose saying I was right the whole time. Or is this just a big time fan congratulating him? I just thought that it seems weird, and it sort of aligns with Michael Does Life's MO. I just get a weird feeling that these two are one in the same, and he just does this stick of every game is terrible, every game is shit, don't buy, don't buy, don't buy. Like, look look at this sheer delusion. You see how many fucking Resident Evil Requiem videos this dude has made with the same goddamn name? Do not buy, do not buy, do not buy, do not buy, do not buy. He progressively loses his hair, then he grows it back. What the fuck is going on? I just have some weird, strange, sneaking suspicion that these two are one and the same. I can't prove it. I can't prove it. I'll be fair. I cannot prove it, but it's just a weird feeling in the pit of my stomach that's like saying, you know, this is not this irrational, somewhat irrational. I'm gonna say somewhat irrational because it was points in this video that were good against RE4 Remake, but this somewhat irrational stance on RE now and this slew of videos about RE9 is just, I don't know, it just lines up, and then special fan as well. It's just, I don't know. I think these two are the same. That's my headcanon. Hey, if it's not true, it's not true. But hey, you know, that's just my opinions on what I think about this, and this has the entire RE community stirring. They especially do not like that comparison to Resident Evil 4 Remake and The Last of Us Part 2 with similar mechanics, but I think there is the similar elements, which I labeled earlier in the video. Leon can't fucking prone. Leon can't do that shit. Leon doesn't have a fucking skill tree where it gives him passive abilities. He only can make his guns a little bit stronger. Like, there's things you could just easily break down in the middle of that. But I think I've done enough. I'm going to go watch Daredevil Born Again Season 2. This was a long one, so hopefully you guys enjoy this, because I sure did, making it.